in Chicago. Let's do the build-up.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
Hello. Once again, welcome back to the channel, guys. We are here for the build-up to Elimination Chamber. We are a few hours away from the show going on there, just under 3 hours, actually. And we are here to get you hyped up and in the mood as we do on the night of each and every PLE. That's the aim anyway. I think, again, we covered it quite in depth on our weekend kickoff show. It's been a bit of a strange build towards this PLE and, of course, therefore, by proxy, towards WrestleMania. But I got to be honest, SmackDown threw up some very, very interesting discussions that I can't wait to have with you guys tonight in the comments. I'll also be joined by Lucas later on as well. But look, first of all, thank you for tuning in and for joining us. I hope you are looking forward to the show itself. Let's see who's in the chat so far. We've got Casper says, good evening. Casper back in the house again. Rebellious Noise, Scott and Lucas. Crazy Mask Man, I'm asking on SmackDown. Don Fury, who the hell is that? We will get to some of that, Casper. Yeah, but they did kind of unmask the Masked Man. I don't think that's going to be the end of it. I don't think that's what they originally were going to do, but we'll talk a little bit about that later on. As you say, last night Don Fury was the fake Masked Man on SmackDown is from Seth Rollins' Black Belt Academy School, apparently. Okay, yeah, I didn't know who the guy was. Shorter than the original Masked Man, you say, and would it have something to do with Elimination Chamber? We'll have to see with that one tonight. But as you say, a little bit ridiculous to you. And Johnny Gargano planking everywhere is a bit silly. But hey, you got to be there for WWE's comedy as well. Sludge is in the house, says, hello, guys. And I thought it was Shady Helanis, Tiffany Stratton's boyfriend. Yeah, look, it was weird unveiling him, right? Because it felt like it was a big moment that was kind of, and I get it. I think it's because in storyline they're going to turn it into that wasn't really him or whatever. But they're certainly pivoting, and where they're pivoting to, I don't know, but I'm excited to see what they do with us. I think, to give WWE credit, I think SmackDown was a great show, a great example of a show where they try to fix things and make things kind of spontaneous and exciting heading into PLE, and I think that's what they've done. It's been successful in that kind of regard. Have low expectations, says you know the deal as far as this Elimination Chamber goes. Hopefully the card won't be too predictable. Cheers, mate. It's good to see you back in the house, mate. It's always a pleasure to see these familiar names and faces popping up in the chat, and yeah, no different for you know the deal. Thank you for tuning in, buddy. I hope you will be coming out of Elimination Chamber on the other side a little bit more infused than you currently seem to be. And hey, not only that, let's hope at the end of this build-up show you're a bit more in the mood as well, because look, despite the kind of slow build, as I say, I do feel like SmackDown kind of brought up a few interesting topics, and as I say, I can't wait to talk to Lucas about them as well. Speaking of Lucas, I'm going to show some clips from Lucas's own channel on this stream very soon, and kind of react to some of his other predictions over there. We'll also show our weekend kickoff show replay for those that didn't get to tune in last night. We did an original prediction show. Yes, it was recorded pre-SmackDown, so some of these things will have changed, but we'll go into those later on the live portion of the show as well. Let's have a look. A few more comments here as well from Sludge. Says, this Rhodes has been so weird. It feels like there's no storylines leading up to WrestleMania, and says they should have added another match. I hate these 4 or 5 match PLEs. Yeah, it's really, again, something we've talked about for years now on this channel. This kind of fear seems to do anything beyond that, because they really don't do anything more. That's one thing Vince does better than Triple H. I think the thing is, Vince though often went way over the top. You know, you got to remember back to those what felt like 12-hour WrestleManias. Not great either. We got Johnny in the house. Says it's going to come down to Cody and Randy tonight. That's my prediction. I think you're right, Johnny. I think it is looking quite likely that Cody is. I mean, they played into the Randy Orton thing as well, didn't they, on SmackDown? He didn't touch him, did he? RKO'd Javon, but he didn't touch his good old buddy from the Legacy. I'm sure he will eventually. We now have so many mystery mysteries at the moment. Who attacked Jacob? Jacob Fatu, mystery man running around, and a crate. That's a good point, Casper. I saw someone on Twitter earlier on say something along the lines of, "Oh, what did they say? It really made me laugh." What is this? Scooby Doo? Mystery crates, mystery opponents, and all this kind of stuff. And mystery attackers. There's a lot of mystery going on. Hey, it was part of Triple H's Stables theme song. Maybe that's where he got the inspiration. Evolution is a mystery and all that stuff. Look, I mentioned it a moment ago. We are going to show some of Lucas's content from his own channel here as well. I'm going to react to some of these clips. So I hope you'll stay tuned and kind of join me in that. So what I'm going to do now, just a few minutes long, I'm going to hand it over to Lucas and his predictions from the Lucas Jackson show. Go check out his channel, guys. Show him support as you do always with us here on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. Let's see what Lucas has to say about, first of all, the Women's Elimination Chamber.
Now time to turn attention to the entrance for the women's chamber match. This will be a video done over two parts. The first part, which I'm going to now, will feature the women who I think are most likely to win, and the second video will feature the women who I think could maybe cause an upset if they was to win. And so yeah, let's get in with a big name, and that's Rhea Ripley. I'm recording this after SmackDown, so apologies for any spoilers, but Rhea Ripley is no longer one half of the women's tag team champions, as the Irresistible Forces defeated Team Rio last night on SmackDown. It leaves Rhea, more likely, without a WrestleMania plan, potentially. So this is a big name that we could tick off here, with Rhea Ripley winning the chamber match. Now, I kind of wanted to go somewhere else, but I'm just putting her in this video because it's very likely, knowing WWE, that they would turn to the well that's worked before. The other big name in this, of course, is the former champion, that being Tiffany Stratton. She had a rocket strapped to her behind over last year, and cooled off, I mean, in the summer into the winter, but the only reason why I don't think she's likely to win this is because of the greenness surrounding Tiffany and Jade. Obviously, Tiffany is new to the roster and Jade is new to the roster too, and their previous matches weren't met with the best reception. The other big name in this video to discuss is, of course, Alexa Bliss. A lot to unravel here, as Alexa Bliss has won a chamber previously. She's also been a women's champion, but has not really been in that kind of conversation since returning to the company at the Rumble last year. Of course, she's had a fantastic, successful tag team championship reign with Charlotte Flair, and it looks like that's kind of still a thing, though it does seem that, given the previous we've had with the WWE with this, that potentially things could cool down on that to then rocket Alexa into a WrestleMania program with Jade Cargill. Now, I feel Jade Cargill can actually benefit from working with anyone in this chamber match, anyone that is apart from Tiffany Stratton, and I don't think we're going to see much improvement. But anyway, what are your thoughts, guys? Please let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to check out part 2 and my other videos on the chamber on this channel.
All right, so we're going to get to Lucas's part 2 of that very soon. But just to touch on some of the notes there, again, that was recorded post SmackDown. Of course, we did our original predictions pre-SmackDown, but a big story there. Of course, Rhea Ripley no longer a tag team champion, so you got to imagine that might play into it. I mean, last night, you'll see in a bit when we replay our original stream, my thinking was going towards Alexa Bliss, but that does change a few things. Does it change things for you? Let me know, guys, in the comments. A few comments here as well. Johnny says, Danhausen tonight in the crate. Look, that's the big name going around, isn't it? That and Jericho, which I think is quieting down a bit. It feels very Danhausen. So maybe. We'll touch on that a little bit more later on, Johnny. It'd be interesting to see what they do. I mean, it's tonight. It's happening tonight, guys. Sludge is in the house. Hello. As is this Sludge's auto account. My other account is being weird. Sludge, look. I knew it was you the second I saw not only Sludge, but hates Dragon Lee. Man, give Dragon Lee a break. Well, good to see you, buddy. Good to have you on the streaming in the comments, as always. Casper says, I'm going for Tiffany Stratton tonight. Elimination Chamber win over Ripley. It is Tiffy time. Yeah, maybe those two will be the final two. A little bit of a swerve there, maybe. Looking like Rhea could be picking up the victory, but hey, it ends up being Tiffany all along. Again, myself and Lucas touched on it quite a bit last night, but he kind of mentioned it there as well. It would be frustrating if it was Tiffany Stratton. You know, as much as I do enjoy her work, I don't want to see that match again. Let's throw over to Lucas's other video based on the Women's Chamber, though. Here are his thoughts on the other three competitors in that Chamber match.
Guys, so check out my other videos for my thoughts on the other three women entering the Chamber match. This video will feature the women who I feel might be a bit unlikely to win the Chamber match. And we're going to start with Asuka. And the reason why she's unlikely is because they don't really seem to have positioned her in that main event space for quite some time. Now, obviously things can change. This is the WWE after all. And I, for one, think that Jay Cargill could learn a hell of a lot from working with a worker of the caliber of Asuka, but I feel she's unlikely to be the victor in the Chamber match just based on how she's been used over the past couple of years. Now, next up is the newcomer to the SmackDown roster, that being Kiana James. Now, this is very, very interesting as, of course, Julia did not qualify, and Julia is the current Women's United States Champion and is yet to be on a PLE for quite some time. This follows, of course, Kiana James's impressive run in the Rumble match. I thought she was, to be fair, I think pretty much the MVP of the Women's Rumble. Probably second to Sol Ruka, to be fair. And I think this is her kind of reward for doing so. And I feel that she's been added to the match to add a sense of kind of unpredictability. And they're all about that now, it seems. Especially if the reports are true about the last-minute change they made to SmackDown with regards to the Women's Tag Team Championships. Check that out on my other video. Now, the final name to discuss, and it's weird putting her in this category of unlikely winners, particularly because of how she's been positioned over the past couple of months on Raw, that being Raquel Rodriguez. Now, she is actually my favourite to win. I mentioned this on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, and I just feel that things may have cooled on her a little bit, but it's still possible that she finds a way to get into the title scene going into WrestleMania. Now, this, of course, would position the match as a big kind of powerhouse, as a powerhouse battle. Similarly, I guess, to be fair, to the Rhea Ripley affair. But I feel this would be good because it'd be something different, something we haven't seen. I guess we haven't seen Rhea and Jade, but we have, of course, seen Rhea in that championship picture a lot of the time. And we do need to start seeing new people enter the championship pictures, because otherwise, you know, WrestleMania, how are we going to sell tickets to WrestleMania in 28, 29? But yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. That's my thoughts on the Women's Chamber matches. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as I've also done all the men's entrants too.
All right, that is just a little bit of a preview of what you can find on Lucas's own channel. Again, the Lucas Jackson Show. Much appreciated for Lucas sending that in and letting us use some of those clips. But again, I wanted to highlight what he's doing over there. So if that's your sort of thing, short form content, go and check him out. Of course, stick with us on the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel as you always do. But we do want to encourage you to check out, our alternative projects. And a lot of times we have our friends in the wrestling media world, and we always want you to go and check out what they do as well. But hey, thank you for tuning in here regardless. Look, I think he raises some good points there. Again, some of it we mentioned last night, but it's certainly changed since that SmackDown. Another thing that's changed, of course, is the men's chamber match. There is a different competitor in it now. Jey Uso has been yeeted out of there. It is now Logan Paul in his place. So we'll touch on that in a bit more detail very soon as well. I see Sludge says, I have a surprise winner from a men's chamber winner. Also says, I've Trick Williams winning the chamber. It feels like if Cody wins it, it would be quite quite boring. Trick Williams, however, is so over with the crowd, and this could be a big moment for him. So I have Trick. Yeah, that's quite similar to what Lucas was saying last night, Sludge. It would be huge. It feels like the kind of thing they probably wouldn't do, but it would be huge. Actually, you know who's going to win it? I think it's going to be Cody. Yeah, that's kind of the thing we were settling on as well. Casper says, but I thought WWE SmackDown was decent last night. A lot of and heard a lot of negative, then positive, but was a fun show. But then the unmasking was a bit strange for me. Yeah, again, we're touching on unmasking a bit more later on, Casper. But I thought it was a good show to kind of throw the spanner in the works. And, you know, that's what you kind of want with these last minute kind of shows, these go homes. Aiden's in the house. Good to see you, buddy. It says, I have got Rhea winning the women's chamber. He's changed his mind. Aiden joined us last night on the weekend preview as well. Weekend kickoff show, I should say, where we originally previewed these matches. We got one more clip from Lucas to share with you, though, so I'm going to pass over to him in a minute. And again, these clips here are coming from his own channel, the Lucas Jackson Show. Again, if you haven't already, check out what he's doing over there. We just wanted to share some of this as a bit of a taster as to what you can find from Lucas. And again, it's some great insight. So Here we go. Here's Lucas's thoughts specifically on Cody Rhodes.
Cody. You thought I left you out. And I almost did, because I didn't want to have to discuss Cody Rhodes winning the Chamber match in 2026 to set up yet another match with Drew McIntyre. But I guess in the interest of fairness, I must. And so here we are. So Cody Rhodes obviously has qualified for the Chamber match in very interesting circumstances, as Drew McIntyre got involved in the match. He also got involved in the match that gave Logan Paul the spot. But because we've been in this situation before with people like John Cena, with Roman Reigns, and it just sometimes feels they will not shift from whatever their plan was at one point. But look, when I say this from chest, I say this as someone who actually likes Cody Rhodes. But I just feel this year is not the time to put him in yet another WrestleMania main event match for that championship. We obviously saw him previously fail to finish his story. He finished his story, and then he obviously lost to Cena last year. And I guess they may look at it as like this year being his redemption arc, but I don't think we need to see it. I really don't think we need to see this. I know there's talks about this potentially becoming a triple threat, maybe in a four-way. You add in people like Jacob Fatu, Sami Zayn, or Randy Orton. But I'm just not interested in seeing WrestleMania ending with Cody Rhodes, you know, lifting the WWE Championship above his head again. And it's a shame this, because they had so many chances to change this up, and the Chamber could be used to do that. And there's some great young talent in there like Trick Williams and Javon Evans, and I'd be all for giving them a rub above Cody Rhodes. There's also the much more interesting story with Randy Orton being part of the match and actually ending the night as the Chamber winner. I think all the other options combined, and even people that maybe they could replace people with in the contest. Obviously, Logan has replaced Jay. I still think both those were much more interesting options than seeing Cody Rhodes win this match. But it's going to happen. We're saying this now. I'm recording this about lunchtime UK time, so we're about 12 hours out from the show, and we are saying this now, and we know that the show will be ending with Cody Rhodes winning the Chamber match in a way that he doesn't need to do so. And even if it is end up being a triple threat or a fatal four-way, the damage is already done. We've seen this previously when they've tried to fix things with the whole like Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch situation a few years back, even with Daniel Bryan being added to the Mania 37 main event. But it's always bloody messy. But hey ho, those are my thoughts. Please like, share and subscribe for more.
All right, again, great to get Lucas's insight there. It's funny to me because, as he says, he records that lunchtime UK, and he was 12 hours away from the show. We are now just under 3 hours away from the show, and he's going to be joining this show in a little bit as well. And it'll be interesting to see that even if in that time his thought process has changed, because just 24 hours ago, we were having a similar discussion, and we were talking about Cody, again, being the most likely, but there were a lot of other kind of scenarios that could have happened and that we talked about, even though the Cody one seems the most nailed on. And then on top of that, now we've got the Logan Paul kind of change, which I don't think Logan Paul's going to win it, but I do think it changes the dynamics of the match. And the Jacob Fatu stuff last night on SmackDown was very interesting as well. We're going to throw it over to our weekend kickoff show in just a little bit. Again, please bear in mind it was recorded pre-SmackDown, but I hope you enjoy it anyway, because there was a lot of great discussion beyond the kind of card itself as well. So I'm going to hand over to that in just a moment. Before I do, I'm going to look back at some of the comments that you guys have been sending in. Appreciate those as always. Aiden says, Casper, it's a guy from Seth's Wrestling Group talking about who was the masked man. And the funny thing is that can kind of play into the storyline if they want it to eventually. Don't know if they'll do it that way, but we'll have to see. Such as the crate will have the light up jacket from Chris Jericho. That'd be a cool way to announce it. Like, Jericho's not necessarily in the crate, but that is a cool way to do it. Or it could be announced that the crate could be an extra pod in the Chamber match. That would be interesting. Sludge, it's out there, and like it's against the rules, and I don't like things like that when it comes to wrestling. And then suddenly going, oh, actually, we'll just do it like this tonight because the storyline fits it. But you know what? If they're going to do stuff like that, that's a weirdly interesting way to do it. So I like that. Aiden says Rhea losing the tag belt makes me think she's going to win. Yeah, I definitely think that's the case as well, Aiden. It's a lot more likely, at least. Evans is the only non-crybaby in the men's chamber. None of the 6 deserve the right to face Drew. In case you don't know, guys, Aiden is a big fan of his fellow Scott, and it can't be more than one-on-one. I think it will be one-on-one when it comes to WrestleMania. I hope Drew screws Cody. Interesting point about Cody. What that Lucas made, again, I think we've all accepted that Cody's going to WrestleMania being in that match in some way, shape, or form. But his point there and then at the end of WrestleMania, he'll be standing there holding up the belt as well. I'm like, yeah, that's probably the case as well. Like, and that's kind of stressful. Again, much like what Lucas said, I'm a fan of Cody, but come on, I don't need that. Casper says, I do see another masked man shenanigans in the Elimination Chamber match. The OG masked man get involved and getting into the chamber and not the fake chamber, and the chamber has to deliver for me. That's a good point there, Casper. I think they could do that as well because they clearly wanted some vision representation in there. Of course, it was meant to be Bronson Reed. That's the reports. There was even graphics that leaked with him on it. Then he gets injured. They made Cody audible, but I think the way they got around it was actually quite clever because they couldn't put Logan in the match straight away, could they? They had to give it to someone and then take him out of it and give him no opportunity. So I thought it was very clever the way WWE dealt with a real life situation there. But yeah, those are kind of Lucas's predictions from today. But as I say, I do want to share our weekend kickoff show as well. If you haven't already seen it, please stay tuned, check it out. It's going to last for about an hour, and then I'm going to be back live with Lucas breaking down all your comments that have come in since. I'm going to be lurking in the background, chatting away with you guys, and all my favorite comments will kind of bring back on there when we come back on live with the live panel. But as we do watch it together, I'll be there chatting away with you guys as well. It is 2.5 hours roughly away from the PLE start, and we're going to be taking you right up until the PLE itself. So we're going to start now with last night's original previews. Again, please bear in mind some of these will be slightly outdated. Some of the topics, it's still, I think, a great discussion anyway. But things like talking about Rhea being tag champ and talking about Jey Uso being in the match, for example, have since changed. But other than that, again, I hope you enjoyed the conversation that myself and Lucas had last night. And again, we'll be live. And the great thing about this, we'll see whether or not the benefit of hindsight in 24 hours and these changes from SmackDown do kind of contribute to us changing our mind as well. So let's throw it over to me and Lucas from last night. As I say, I'll be in the chat and I'll be replying to your comments as well. See you in a bit. And welcome back to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. My name is Scott and I'm joined by Lucas. It is time for the weekend kickoff for Elimination Chamber weekend. Of course, the big show coming out of Chicago on the road to WrestleMania. We're going to be breaking down that show and all the big stories flying around it right after this.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, once again, welcome back, guys, to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. Really happy to be back on air talking pro wrestling again. Again, we are on that road to WrestleMania, and I'm sure we're going to dive into this, Lucas, but it's a road that's been a little bit slow for some so far. But hey, let's try and get ourselves in the mood. Not quite for WrestleMania, but of course a big step before we actually get there with the Elimination Chamber. So we're going to be breaking down the card. Of course, at time of recording, there are 4 matches announced. You never know. They might have the 5th on SmackDown. Very much doubt it. But we're going to be talking about the top 4, the main 4, I should say, in this stream. Then, of course, we'll be back for a build-up show on the night of the PLE as well. Before we do that, I can see some comments already flying in. Appreciate you guys waiting in the wings for us to show up live. Let's go to Casper straight away, who is changed his name to Throw the Baby Out with a Bathwater. Good evening, Scott. Casper, unfinished business back in the house again. I ain't spoken since the Royal Rumble 2026 with Roman Reigns. Won the Rumble. Hope you well, Scott. Doing very well. Glad to have you on board, Casper. I've already got my predictions for the Chamber tomorrow night. Good. Would love to hear. And of course, Lucas in the house tonight as well. Make sure you go check out Lucas's channel. Lucas, how are you feeling, mate? It's again, we've been chatting off air a little bit about this kind of strange build towards not just WrestleMania, but of course this step before it, Elimination Chamber. As we get closer to it, as we get to the weekend itself, and we start kicking off the festivities, how do you feel about it?
See, the thing is, they're exciting matches. I've got on in the background. You know, WWE, as they do their best now, they do like the stream, don't they, for the whole week, where they stream obviously whatever the kind of subject of the month is, and they are fun matches. But I don't know if I sit in the minority now or anymore, because IWC seems very divided. But I preferred them when they were for a championship over being for a championship opportunity.
Yeah.
I think the difficulty they've had this year for WrestleMania, trying to build it, is they've got two matches or two scenarios that basically do the same thing. Where obviously for the men and for the women, you have to win the Rumble match first, and then that gives you like the first dibs of who obviously what belt you face for at WrestleMania. And they seem to have set a deadline that decision needs to be made by the chamber, because obviously Liv Morgan longed it out a bit. CM Punk, Roman Reigns said straight away, didn't they, who he wanted to face. We saw that match out. But Liv Morgan obviously, went to Raw, to SmackDown, and then she finally made her decision very clear just this week on Monday Night Raw. But then the secondary stage, of course, as we know, is to win the chamber match. And you basically get whoever the Rumble winner doesn't pick. So we know this year that both chamber matches are for the belts that are currently on the SmackDown brand, which we can unpack a bit later on. But the problem they've got with this is a lot of storylines are in limbo because of these matches existing. And obviously we are... Thankfully, Mania is a bit later this year. It's the 18th of April. I think it's the latest it's been in quite some time. But it does mean they're going to have to put their foot on the gas the minute this PLE finishes tomorrow night, because we need to start seeing because all we know now are the two World Championship matches for one for the men and one for the women. And then we will know, I guess, the other two matches. But it will leave a lot of people, because only one person basically can win each chamber, and that leaves five, of WWE's top women and five of their men, without a direction going into WrestleMania. And yes, some of the stories will, I guess, maybe come out of the chamber match itself, but we need to start seeing some progress. And I think that's the problem. You're stalling basically 12 wrestlers in order to do this chamber match, and so it leaves people thinking, what's up their sleeve.
Yeah, I completely agree, especially going back to your earlier point of it not being for a title. I liked it that year where they did the tag titles even.
Yes.
If they can't do it for the world titles, then do something like that. There's been times where I've kind of been okay with the number one contender thing, I think. But I think it's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot to do. Don't get me wrong, the Rumble's a lot to do to get to WrestleMania, but it kind of does take away from it a little bit. And I think, we'll talk about this a little bit more, I'm sure, with the World Championship match. And I don't want to give a spoiler of my prediction straight away, but I'm not that excited for a twist in that one. So if CM Punk was defending against five other men and still, don't get me wrong, came out of it as the champion, then at least there was that opportunity. There was that kind of speculation surrounding it. And I got to be honest, because I don't think there's much speculation going around his match at the moment. So again, we'll get into that in a little bit and our kind of deeper thoughts on each match as we go along. But yeah, I'm in agreement with you. It's tough, isn't it? Because as you say, you look back at classic chambers and you go, man, it's a fun of last year. It was let's not forget, it was one of the most pivotal moments in wrestling history last year when John Cena turned heel, and that's going to be something that they're going to struggle to live up to this year. Don't get me wrong, it's never here nor there about whether or not that heel turn was a success eventually. But the initial turn, we can't deny that this time last year we had one of the biggest moments in wrestling history happen on a fairly decent pay-per-view in itself, PLE, I should say. So it's going to be tough, kind of settling people's expectations when it comes to that. So they're in a bit of a tricky situation at the moment. But as you say, there is opportunity here for storylines to come out of the chamber matches. So hopefully it won't just be the title pictures becoming clearer for us. And as you say, those five that don't pick up the gold, or the contendership to challenge for the gold, I should say, don't look lost in the wilderness as we start getting towards WrestleMania itself. Because as you say, as soon as chamber is done, they've got to shift gears quickly with a lot of these storylines to kind of make something out of WrestleMania. And of course, it's 2 nights to fill now as well. I'm sure they will. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's not a lot at the moment, so let's see how they do when we come out the other side of the chamber. But look, we're on this side at the moment, Lucas. So what we'll do is break down the card a little bit more in detail, and as I say, predict the matches overall. Quickly get some of the comments here. Casper says, "Yeah, they only know who's inside that crate." We'll talk about the crate, I'm sure, over this weekend. I'm looking forward to hearing everybody's speculation as to what is going on there, and whether or not it plays into any of the matches. Of course, the date on it is the night of Elimination Chamber, but wherever night it kind of, gets used in the ring or something like that, we'll have to wait and see. Bronson Reed out for 3 to 12 months. That's a big time frame. With a torn tricep muscular tear, says Casper. Look, I haven't really kept up to date with the news about his injury, but of course I saw what happened on Raw, and it's a real shame. Kind of ironic, really. Not ironic, but of course very unfortunate. There's been a lot of injury stuff around the Vision storyline. They've had to shift gears many times, and of course on a kind of whim they went with Jey Uso instead. So much so, Lucas, have you seen that there's promotional artwork out there with Bronson Reed on it? It really shows just how nailed down some of these matches are from the earlier kind of point, really.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is always going to be the problem with having that match so close to the PLE. You're talking about, and the thing is, nowadays as well, we're in different business, different era where, these guys don't have house shows, so it isn't uncommon for them to go sometimes 2-3 weeks without a match anyway. And so it's something they need to look at from a logistical point of view, because there's a lot of people injured, a lot of people that are not going to make WrestleMania this year. And I think that is also combining with the fact that we don't, again, this crate thing, I guess we will have to unpack at some point, but we don't see
WWE will.
Yeah, but we don't see what they've got up their sleeve. So if we just rewind a little bit, and we go back year by year. So obviously, last year they were gifted the John Cena retirement tour, which yes, we can touch upon and talk about the cows going home about the heel turn that didn't really go where we wanted, but it was still a big talking point and a big selling point of WrestleMania. The year before, of course, had the Brock and the Bloodline and Cody finishing his story. Year before that, 39. Well, that's Cody Part 1 trying to finish his story.
Yeah, and Sami Zayn at the Chamber maybe doing it.
Yeah, and didn't we was 39 Sami and Kevin winning the tag belts as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was basically the Bloodline kind of, well, think it was going to end, but obviously it continued a bit further. But it changed course after that. And then even 38, Stone Cold came out of retirement to have his retirement match. Obviously 37 was the first one after COVID. Obviously, you don't really talk about that. And then 36 has the uniqueness of being the one that no one attended. No one literally attended because. So I think every year, and obviously 30, and even before that, you can go way back. 35 women main evented for the first time.
Becky Lynch, yeah.
Long, and then obviously them building up from the stadiums, and the shows are getting increasingly bigger and longer. But they've always had whether it's been like a Stone Cold appearance or Undertaker, defending the streak, or Brock Lesnar, or they've always had something. But it's like this year, it feels like there's nothing. And this is the thing: all eyes are on the crate to deliver something which will tell people, okay, there's something here, But like I said to you the other day in the chats and stuff, I just feel like this year's WrestleMania, it's just the same people as last year, just in slightly different combinations.
Yeah. I mean, again, let's hope the Chamber does throw up some twists and turns elsewhere. But when it comes to the top of the very card, it definitely feels like that. Let's get to, again, this weekend at hand, though. Let's not jump before we can run before we can walk, or whatever the phrase is. Let's talk about this weekend. Again, this is your weekend kickoff show. We're going to unpack the card, and again, we'll be back for the build-up show on the night of the PLE. You may even be watching this on the replay section of that stream, in which case, stay tuned. It's coming up live soon, the build-up. But hey, if you're in the timeline with me and Lucas at the moment on Friday night, we're a few hours away from SmackDown, and again, we'll talk about some of the big stories coming out of SmackDown on the build-up show in case we do miss anything in this original preview as well. But let's get on to the card itself, Lucas. The first one one I think we should be talking about is the Women's Elimination Chamber match. We've got Kiana James versus Asuka, Raquel Rodriguez. We've also got Tiffany Stratton, Rhea Ripley, and Alexa Bliss. An interesting field when it comes to these ones here, as far as who's going to come out on top and become number one contender. Of course, this will, as you mentioned earlier on, lead into the SmackDown storylines. So we're talking about a Jade Cargill match here. I haven't spent too much time thinking about this match itself as far as who I think might win. So I'm going to let you go first on this one, if that's all right, mate, because I feel like my cogs going to start moving as I look at the graphic in more detail. But what are your thoughts at the moment?
So before Liv picked, well, two things. Before Raquel lost to Stephanie on Raw a few weeks ago in the street fight, and obviously before Liv had obviously picked Stephanie, I was of the belief that Raquel would actually win the championship. And
Me too.
A sort of Judgment Day. Maybe a triple threat again because there's Roxanne as well in there. But then Raquel didn't win the championship, and so now, and the thing is, I knew straight away there was no chance in hell that Liv was going to pick Jade.
Yeah, it would make sense.
Yeah, I just knew that wasn't going to happen. So that meant that Liv was going to face Stephanie, and there's a separate thing. I think they're going to do a separate story with that. But it does obviously now lead Raquel Rodriguez in a weird position where she hasn't got really a clear path to WrestleMania. I mean, obviously you could argue that there could be some sort of women's tag gauntlet or tag turmoil, whatever they call it, that could happen. But I do feel that with her improvement she's made over definitely the past 6 months or so, I think she deserves a bit more. So it's like whether they do go down the route of a Judgment Day split and maybe she then faces Roxanne at WrestleMania. But then, or is it that she's going to go after the other championships? So there's two of the Judgment Day women going after championships. Because the thing is, as well, with this, the SmackDown women's division, well, I say division, is non-existent. So having a Raw superstar, win this chamber would then obviously bring over more women to the SmackDown roster, which it definitely needed, particularly obviously at the moment with Chelsea Green being injured. I think Meechin and B-Fab had just come back from injury. So yeah, she's my front runner. Obviously, you can't ever rule out people like Rhea Ripley, but I kind of feel that she's tag champ, and I think she's had enough of the singles matches or the going after the main belt at WrestleMania. She's won it there. She's retained it there. She's been in matches where she hadn't come on. She hadn't been triple threat last year, for example. I just feel we need to get out of the thing of it always just being her match. Then Alexa was my third pick because at the moment they're doing the feud. They're kind of teasing a split between Alexa and Charlotte, very slowly. But as we know, Triple H is WWE. This could either go nowhere or could be resolved next year WrestleMania. You're planting the seeds now. Don't forget, we're still waiting to find out why Charlotte lost the
NXT in your house 6 years ago. 5, 6, yeah.
In 2020.
It'll all pan out eventually, Lucas. We'll know for sure. Yeah.
So yeah, those are my top three. I know I haven't really given an answer there, but I probably maybe helped your thought process. Those are my top three. I don't think it'll be Asuka. I don't think it'll be Tiffany. Well, I'm hoping it's not going to be Tiffany because that's just going back to a program it's already dead in the water. And the wild card in there really is Kiana James. Obviously, I've had
very wild.
Probably one of the best showings in the Rumble this year, I'd say.
Yeah.
Obviously, Sol Ruka down the line. Obviously, later on in the match, took that crown big time. But I don't think Kiana James actually proved a lot. And they've been quite smart with obviously bringing the new talent into these matches. Obviously, there's more to unpack with that in the men's one. But they do have a chance to do something different, here. So she's the wild card. But those are my top three, being Alexa Bliss, Raquel Rodriguez is the favourite, Rhea Ripley, just because she's Rhea Ripley, I guess.
Yeah, no, I understand. Look, I got to say, this is a tough one because credit where it's due. This does feel fresh. It does create something fresh. It's a very different kind of like, yeah, you've got some of your heavy hitters that have always been in and around this spot, like Rhea Ripley, but that you've also got ones like Alexa Bliss, who, while I'm sure will go down as a Hall of Famer, hasn't always been in the main storyline when it comes to the women's division. So it's interesting that they've done that there. I'm very surprised that Charlotte didn't make it in to this match, because I think Charlotte versus Jade is surely one they were itching to do. But hey, maybe that depends on this story with Alexa. Maybe Charlotte turns on Alexa at the Chamber, and that becomes a big blow off here, and that's, you know, a jealousy thing where she couldn't, if I can't get to it, then you can't get to it, or something like that. You know, they'll play for it at Rumble. Maybe they won't be here. As far as the other selections here, I mean, Kiana James, again, as impressed as I've been, I don't think that's a WrestleMania match at this moment in time. Asuka just doesn't seem likely. Tiffany Stratton, I think, is the one, if you look at a marquee, makes the most sense, but it's the least fresh out of all of them, because we've been there, we've done that. So I really hope it's not the case for that reason. Look, as you say, Ripley, they're always going to be tempted to put her in a big spot. So there is a chance, and it is somewhat, I mean, it is still fresh. We've got to be honest, that is a fresh matchup between the two. It just was a little bit out of place when she's been in a tag team, and that's actually been going pretty well as far as, you know, people enjoying that their work together. Yes, you can put it on hold for a little bit, but I don't think we need Rhea in another main title picture match at WrestleMania at this moment in time. It'd be nice to kind of put the brakes on that for a little bit, as much as I enjoy Rhea's work. Then you go for Raquel. Raquel is an odd one, because, I mean, she's a heel and Jade's a heel, so I don't know about that. And as much as I, again, have been impressed by Raquel's work lately, I don't think it'd be a very pretty match. And I think that was the issue with Tiffany Stratton versus Jade Cargill in the first place. So I think that would be more the case with Jade Cargill versus Raquel Rodriguez as well. So that would be my concern there. So really, I think I'd have to default to, and again, even though I gave her the kind of whole Charlotte thing, I think it would be Alexa Bliss. If I look at that field there, yes, look, I did say Rhea, don't want to involve because she's in the tag team. Alexa's also in a tag team, don't get me wrong. But she has, yeah, exactly, Rhea's tag champ as well. But Alexa's not been thrown into the main event picture year on year like Rhea has. So I think it'd be a good opportunity for her. And maybe if we don't get the turn here, maybe we get at WrestleMania. Maybe Charlotte costs her the title. She goes in as the kind of cheerleader or whatever, you know, for Alexa, and maybe that's where we get it. Or we don't. They play into it and it never happens, but they don't end up being a team for much longer because Alexa goes to a one-on-one business. So I think if I'm really gonna go with what I'd like to see, which is what I'm gonna pick, because I can't pick based on how I think they're gonna book. I mean, you know what? If I did, I'd probably go with Tiffany. I just hope it's not. So I'm gonna go with what I'd like to see, and I'm gonna go with Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, this is where the booking sometimes gets a bit painful, because, yeah, we both touched upon the fact that the Tiffany match is not fresh. It's the least fresh of all 6 options, and if they go with it, I just fear that this will get a lot of backlash. The last thing they need in this road to WrestleMania is fans, already getting on the backlash, 2 months out. Particularly when, obviously, as reports are saying, they are, about 10,000 tickets down from this time last year. And they're going to have to throw everything basically at us to try and get us to, obviously, well, try not get us, but try to get people to obviously go over and watch the show. And it's one of those annoying things people criticise them, Vince for doing for years, when he would put obviously Roman or Cena in positions where you give multiple different options, but you'd still just go with the safe one. And Tiffany is the safe one here. But also, I think they got a lot recently that they had 2 or 3 matches. I think one involved Nia Jax, obviously the infamous referee botch, and they all weren't good. They all weren't very good.
Yeah, 100%.
I just think someone working there has to just say, look, we tried it twice on big stages. One was on SummerSlam. No, Queen of the Ring or SummerSlam? SummerSlam.
I think it was SummerSlam.
Jade won Queen of the Ring to then get the title shot. And then obviously at Saturday Night's Main Event, and they weren't good matches. So I don't know what they expect to happen. 4 months afterwards. You know,
Yeah, look, there is an argument to say that they could both improve individually and chemistry together, and it could be better next time round. But as you say, 4 months is very short. WrestleMania is a big kind of, I don't want to say risk, but like the lights are the brightest essentially. If it doesn't go too well, and look, if you want to know our thoughts a little bit more kind of on that, check our reviews of those matches. Not long after they actually took place. But I kind of echo what we were saying at the time. Really, is that they highlighted each other's weaknesses, and that's why it wasn't a good matchup. So
the reason why that's annoying is obviously because they're 2 new stars, to the company, and so we've just always discussed about obviously Rhea Ripley being someone who they push maybe a bit too much into situations, and so we don't want them to go backwards into thinking they've only got to play it safe here. But in the case of this combination, they did try. And I would always put them for trying it at least, but it didn't work. Things with Alexa, one of the main attractions I have with that one is I do think the promo game would be upped, especially if they allow Alexa some creative freedom and allow her to do some of the segments she used to do. Like remember she used to do the Moment of Bliss, I'll set on the stage and stuff. Like I think there could be. Because obviously Jade's promo game has improved, but it is still very kind of, basic. But I do think working with someone like Alexa would only improve her in that respect. Which I think would be good for her. And also I think you've got the fact that Alexa Bliss has done quite well working again. To be fair, because who she is, obviously everyone in that division is bigger than her on the most part, but she's done quite well, in this spot previously. So I think she's got a history, she's got a track record. The fans are really behind her as well. And then obviously you have got the thing where afterwards you can then do the Charlotte match, whether obviously if Alexa wins, obviously basing off Alexa winning the Chamber and then obviously going on to face Jade. But if Alexa does obviously win against Jade, then obviously you could do the Charlotte and Alexa feud then, or Jade can retain, and then you do the Charlotte feud, or maybe even insert Alexa, their favourites, the triple threats, down the line, because that way you're actually getting a SmackDown Women's Division. It's a very interesting match. This for certain, very interesting match because there's actually lots of positive outcomes. I feel lots of positive
I mean, barring Tiffany versus Jade, which I feel awful saying because again they're both stars that are being built, both stars I really enjoy. Barring that pairing, I'm kind of, I mean, even Asuka versus Jade it's not the marquee match it might have been a few years ago because of Asuka's kind of position in the company at the moment, but still it would be different. And I think putting her in there with a veteran like Asuka might not be a bad idea either. So
this is the thing. I think everyone kind of adds quality to the feud. Obviously, Asuka would add the experience, but we get a very hard hitting match. It'd also be interesting how Asuka deals with obviously Jade's power. As Asuka is usually the striker and submission, that kind of thing. How do you put that into the match? I think Kiana James is a phenomenal athlete, so I think that will help. There'll definitely be some athletic spots if that was to go that way. Then obviously you've got Alexa, who, like I said, the mic game would definitely improve. But yeah, I just feel that it would be good for them to do something, to not play it safe, per se.
Yeah, to kind of put it the way you were doing it, I'm going to say, again, this is a mixture of what I think they'll do and what I actually want to happen. I'm going to go Alexa first. I think Rhea, as much as she is a tag team champ, I mean, that is a big marquee match that I understand would be quite tempting. Like the Charlotte one, I'm surprised they're not doing anyway. I'd prefer another year, but I wouldn't be super shocked if they did it. And then after that, it probably would be them maybe trying the whole Tiffany thing again. I think they're the most likely candidates for me. But yeah, we'll have to see. And again, who knows? After SmackDown and some of the promo games we see there might be a little bit of a kind of a change in our thoughts. So tune back in on the build-up show to see kind of how we're feeling then. Let's get to some of these comments here, though. We see them flying in. I can see Casper is sent us quite a few, and Aiden's in the house with us as well. Good to see you guys. Let's have a little look at some of these here. Casper's now upgraded to a PS5. Looking forward to W2K26. I've been checking out NXT Zarya, Fanny Turner, and Sol Ruka. Yeah, so I'm glad you finally get your PS5, Casper. I know you've been looking to get that for a while, even cutting back on your snacks when it came to your viewing. So thanks for the update there, mate. Yeah, we did see Zarya turning on Sol Ruka again, as kind of predicted a few weeks back. Again, I remember you asking us about that then. So yeah, definitely kind of looks like Sol Ruka is kind of getting to that next level, but to kind of in spite of Zarya, I should say. I don't see Zarya kind of getting to that same level at this moment. And anyway, I think it's all about getting Sol Ruka to that next level. But it'd be interesting to see how that continues to go. He says, but my prediction for the women, I got a funny feeling I'm going for Tiffany Stratton in this one again myself, when Lucas talks about that being probably actually quite likely, even if we're not the biggest fans of it at this very moment in time. Tiffany win the women's elimination chamber and still waiting for the arrival of Royce Keege. Of course, showed up in the Royal Rumble, but it'd be interesting to see if he does play a part at WrestleMania, or if they start using him maybe in another capacity on NXT or anything like that instead. I do think Tiffany Stratton makes more sense, says Casper. As I say, Aiden's in the house. Good to see you, Aiden. Hope you're doing well as well. I'm sure you're thrilled with how well Drew McIntyre's run's been going so far. We on his title, I'm sure, over this weekend a little bit more as well, even though he's not, of course, competing himself, but the other chamber certainly is pointing towards him. How is it not Tiffany Stratton? Makes more logical sense after her return at Royal Rumble. That's a good point, Casper. She did just come off of a big return, so I can imagine WWE being itching to kind of pull something out the bag because of that. Aiden is going for Bliss, AJ Lee, Punk, and Cody. We'll get to those other matches in a little bit, Aiden, but I appreciate your predictions for all of them up front. But yes, Alexa Bliss is who I've also gone for in this one. Casper says, I was speaking with my brother about what my brother calling what if Seth Rollins faces Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania Open Challenge. If he's not the Masked Man, it could be Bad Bunny, the Masked Man. Yeah, there are rumors that they're going to drop the Masked Man story. We touched on it earlier on. Of course, the Vision have been hit by another injury. We'll talk a little bit more about that, I assume, on the build-up show, because if you're new here, guys, what we tend to do on the night of a PLE is get you guys hyped up and in the mood for it. You may be watching this weekend kickoff as a replay at the earlier part of the build-up show, but then we go live, hopefully try and get some of our friends from the wrestling media world, and we just talk about all the kind of random topics essentially surrounding the PLE, last minute rumors and stuff like that. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, check out more of our content. But again, on the night of the PLE, we're going to hit you with a build-up show where I'm sure we'll be talking more topics like the ones that have just been brought up in the chat there as well. But you are here for the weekend kickoff show at the moment. We'll be breaking down more of the card very soon. But yeah, please do join us on the build-up show where I'm sure we'll dive a little bit deeper into things like Seth Rollins, the Masked Man, and who knows, Bad Bunny showing up. That Brock Lesnar Open Challenge is an interesting thing to kind of dive into at some point as well. Casper says, Bad Bunny versus Logan Paul, I can really see. Yeah, I mean, looks like there's something going on there in real life. So who knows if they'll take advantage of it. Maybe more so with the Jake Paul side, but Logan, of course, definitely attached to that. Let's not talking Zaruka breaking up. I'm sad, says Aiden. Next prediction, what's in the box? We will get to that in more detail, Aiden, I'm sure, again, over this weekend. Hey, who knows? It might play into some of our predictions as well. Right, let's move on to the next match. Again, we've been talking there about the Women's Chamber. If you just joined us live, feel free to go back and watch from the beginning. But it's now time to move on to the World Heavyweight Championship. It's CM Punk defending, of course, against Finn Balor. Now, Lucas, this is an example of a match that I wish I was more excited to see. I know they've done great work recently, both in the feud, both in their kind of earlier match, of course, a few weeks back in Belfast. But as I mentioned at the top of the show, there is no part of me that thinks we are going to get a twist here. And that's what's most frustrating to me about this PLE. Yes, as we've just talked in the women's number one contendership match, there is kind of a few different ways it can go. But what I like about the Chamber is when they do throw up these kind of possible spanners on the road to WrestleMania, and it doesn't feel like we're going to get one here, not when it comes to this title picture at least, because why would you give up on CM Punk versus Roman Reigns if you committed to it? As much as, again, as you said earlier on, it's throwing around these different kind of names and making them stick in different orders. At the same time, when we talk marquee matches, it's one of the big ones. So I know a lot of people, I mean, Michael Cole's been calling it the biggest WrestleMania match of all time. Why would they suddenly get rid of that? It makes no sense. So in my eyes, if Finn Balor won, I would be more than shocked. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve to be in the main event title picture. I'm not saying he hasn't done well lately, and I'm not saying I'm not intrigued by where he could be going at the moment, because there's a lot of things going on around him and the judgment there, of course. But for me, this seems so unlikely. And again, I'd rather it was just a chamber match where there's a few of them and Punk just came out of it as champion at the end of it anyway. Without, I think, needing to say it, mate, my pick is that Punk's going to win this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's down to this bad booking of, this whole situation where the Rumble winner has to make that choice. And the difficulty they've done is I don't think this happened previously where the Rumble winner would pick the specific person as well. Because why can't the Rumble winner just determine that they want to fight for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania, and then they can, have the champion can still have feuds, before that. Because remember when they used to do stuff like Fastlane and Roadblock and stuff, there'd still be championship matches on there, and then they'd kind of confirm the match. But now it's like what, since like the 1st of February, pretty much, this Punk and Roman match has been set, and yeah, you're right. This match is going nowhere. It's too big a match, not just for this year's Mania, but for the company as a whole. And it probably is going to be like the last real time they could probably make this work. Definitely at WrestleMania, I think. Obviously next year, Saudi, I think that it will go in like a complete different direction. And by the time it gets back to the States in 2028, I think that the ship would just long have sailed. We're talking about a 50. By that point, we're talking about a 50-year-old Punk taking on a mid-40s, Roman Reigns. So this is the year to do it. This is, and obviously it follows on nicely from last year as well. But yeah, they're definitely not changing that match, which basically makes this whole thing kind of pointless to watch. Other than maybe that they're going to have Dominic turn or do something to get involved, then set up his own feud for us. Let's not forget, Dominic has had no feuds for since he won the belt back the second time. I know obviously part of that was when he was injured. Enter on Raw. Other thing I miss as well, why is that match not on the PLE? Well, we know why. We both paid back death of this channel is because obviously the new 4 and 5 match PLE.
They're allergic to it. Yeah,
they're just adding more matches.
Yeah,
Bruce Pritchard on Unreal kind of making himself look like a div, the way he went down, saying things. But yeah, in the idea, well, that match would just be on the PLE anyway, or at least on the pre-show. It's not going to happen. So yeah, Dominic's obviously facing Penta on Raw on Monday. Most likely going to retain. Though they could open it up, I guess, with Dom turning on Finn at Chamber, and then Finn costing Dom the title, and then they go to Mania. Because that's another thing as well. They don't seem to build up many grudge matches. Just matches of we don't like each other. We don't like each other. Let's have a match at WrestleMania. It's always championships or shots at championships, or it's just two huge names, just facing off against each other because they're huge enough to face off, But yeah, my pick for this one is CM Punk, as there's no chance they're changing that match at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I agree, and I think this is what makes it again tough to even spend too much time on, other than. Mate, and I was even going to ask you, but you went straight into it yourself anyway. So I know you're on the same sort of lines as me, thinking there needs to be something else that happens here to make this worthwhile. And of course, you're thinking about whether or not it plays into the Judgment Day. Be interesting again on the build-up show. Maybe we'll dive into that a little bit further, because we need to look forward to this match in some way. I mean, look, I look forward to the performance of the two guys, but when there's nothing that we're waiting for. Look, who knows? Maybe in a few days' time, where we're talking about how Finn Balor's the champion on his way to facing Roman Reigns. I very much doubt it, but we'll have to see. Again, let's.
Which is the thing they've done this before, where obviously the 1999 Rumble won by Vince McMahon. The main event ended up being Rock and Stone Cold. Still, you can do these things without having to kind of do how you've done it. But we know why they've tried to do it, because now they're selling stadiums. So, they're trying to sell stadium tickets.
Yeah, lock it in there.
Average cost of $538 per ticket. The average cost. So it's not chump change anymore. You know, it's not like, you know, I remember trying to go to see WrestleMania. I think it was 21 or 22. No, later than that. I think like 24, 25. And you know,
Mm.
you could get nosebleeds for like $30. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, you'd be there just about, but you know, $30, $40, you know, kind of thing. But now we're talking an average ticket cost of over $530 to watch.
Yeah, the last time I went was 35, and I think the combo tickets were about that much. Like, of course, it wasn't 2 nights of WrestleMania, then it was one night, but it also included the Hall of Fame, Raw, SmackDown, I think NXT, or at least most of that. It was about that sort of money for like a decent seat.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's changed very quickly. I know, you know, we've got a video on this channel where you dove into that, and I know that you've done that on your own channel. Again, guys, go check out Lucas's channel as well, the Lucas Jackson Show, for more kind of in-depth discussion on these sort of topics as well. But when it comes to, again, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, it does seem like that is the marquee match they're building towards. So therefore, it sadly means this feels a little bit of an obvious one. But as I say, we'll park it here because we will dive into kind of how this could be an interesting match tomorrow.
Yeah, I get a feeling
on that show as well. It was. Sorry.
I get a feeling it might be the main event.
That's crazy. Like, if that's the case, something has to happen. Like, that is crazy.
I get a feeling it might. Well, actually, there's two ways. Actually, either it's the main event or it's first.
Yeah, for me, it should be the way that we're talking about it, which at the moment is the women's opening, the world title next. We're actually, spoiler alert, going to start talking about the women's IC next, and then after that, I think the men's.
What did they do at Survivor Series? Wasn't that a similar card where it was 2 men's matches, 2 women's matches? I think.
Yeah, I think it was.
They do.
I know. I'm thinking about the Rumble. I'm thinking about
they did women's War Games. Men. Oh yeah. Okay, so they flip flop. They did men's IC, women's World, and then the men's War Games last. But then didn't have the hometown. Didn't have the hometown, like, you know, pop kind of thing there, did they?
That's a good point. Yeah, the CM Punk Chicago factor is definitely there. As it is, though, as I say, with someone we're going to be talking about next. So let's move into CM Punk's wife, of course, in AJ Lee. Now, AJ Lee is back in the WWE as of a few months ago at WrestlePalooza. And ever since she came back, she's had a kind of issue with Becky Lynch. Now, I'm looking forward to this one because it would be good to see how she is in a kind of singles kind of capacity. I think they've done well to keep people interested in the AJ thing, because she jumped back into the feud when she helped. What's her name? I was going to say Mandy Rose, not Mandy Rose. You know who I'm saying?
Maxine Dupree.
Maxine Dupree. I knew it was an M. Maxine Dupree, of course. So yeah, they've kind of had this storyline bubbling for a while. They hinted a few months back that she might go after the women's IC title. And for me, again, I think it just puts more stock in that championship. So I'm pleased to see that. As far as whether or not she comes out as champion, Lucas, I don't know. I mean, the image of her holding up that gold next to CM Punk holding up the world title is, I think, going to be a very tempting one for WWE to book. And I think Becky's kind of run her course as IC champ. I know she's lost it and got it back, but I think she's done a great job and elevated it and done exactly what she needed to do there. So whether or not AJ holds it for very long, I don't know. And if she does get it, you got to imagine that means there might be a WrestleMania match. And look, it could just be the kind of return match, and maybe her and Becky could be a WrestleMania match anyway. Don't get me wrong, as far as two big stars. So maybe that's where they go with it. So you know what? Yeah, I've talked myself into it. I'm going to say AJ Lee is going to win in Chicago, and that'll be a nice little surprise for us there. What are your thoughts, mate? I don't think she'd hold the title for long if that's the case, because I don't think she's going to do many dates. I expect her to not do many dates anyway. But yeah, let's shake things up. Let's give it to AJ Lee. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think similar, to be fair. I must admit, I don't want it to happen. I think Becky's on a very good roll with this. But I can imagine if they have got... This is the thing we spoke about previously when we've spoken about Lita and Trish Stratus and how they've been utilised by the company. And obviously I went to the Inside the Ropes thing with Trish a couple of years ago, and everything from Lita as well. It always seems that, like, they're happy doing whatever the company wants them to do. But the company at the moment, as we know, and we've seen from the Cena documentary as well, like its business model has changed, and they determine that they don't need people for many dates they once used to, which is kind of annoying, I guess, for the fans and for the wrestlers as well. But it depends. So again, if they have got AJ for even like a short period of time, and where maybe she can just do win this title tomorrow night, have like a title defense against like an Natalia or something like that, midway through, and then just drop the belt back to Becky at WrestleMania. I'm down for it, especially when you can factor in she can do like a couple of promos, a couple of charity appearances, and all that kind of stuff that they love doing. I do think they need, again, the box is so linked to this show, is the thing. We're going to have to get to it eventually. But if what's in the box is not good or something that's not well received by the fans, then I think a feel-good moment of obviously AJ Lee winning the championship could help to erase that somewhat.
Yeah, but that'd be them booking it knowing it might go wrong, which just seems counterproductive. Then just don't do it, but maybe they put themselves into it and they've started to get cold feet, and then they pick it. Like, that's the only way
The problem with the box is that it's got
be booked like that.
Got the date on, and it's going to Chamber, and
it's so funny, man. Like, obviously there's parallels with the giant egg at Survivor Series back in the day when it ended up being gobbledygooker. Speaking of eggs, do you remember a few years ago when Vince McMahon held that egg?
Oh yeah.
And that's what it reminds me of as well. And I know a lot of people have been like, this is how you know Vince is actually behind the scenes. I mean, look at this. This has got Vince all over it. Not saying he's in the box, but like, this is his kind of weird thing, So I don't think that's the case. But
I do think that obviously Unreal, and obviously as I think we know, it does feel a bit like they are aware that the fan base can react negatively to anything. So even if it is, again, we will get to the box, but even if it is something that is really well loved or something that should be well loved, if it's either not executed properly or if it's at the wrong time of the show or there's something up with it, it will be criticised online, for whatever it might be. So even if it's something good, it can still come across bad. So I don't necessarily think that's like, it's not like damage control booking. It's just a case of, okay, it's not like booking on purpose. Sorry, not like, but I forgot what you said. You said along the lines of that's them booking it knowing that something will be bad. I think it's more them booking it knowing that how the IWC act. And
it might be perceived, even if they still want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how Asia does in a singles match. Obviously, she did War Games and the tag match. Generally, that tag match it aged me. it was so long. I think that if they've constructed like a decent like match and it's 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes and there's a nice big babyface pop at the end, or there's a bit of heat for Becky at the end if she retains, I think that's the way to go. I don't think forcing someone who hasn't had a singles match in like a decade to expect them to do like a 20-minute match singles against Becky, I don't think that's the right decision. But it's good to see that this title is obviously it's quite respected now, I think, the women's IC title. I think Becky's done a very good job for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would ideally keep it on Becky, but I would be open. I think what I think they will do, particularly with the kind of blandness of the rest of the stuff, in terms of, well, it was some excitement, but it is a kind of like, especially if Tiffany wins, there's as you know, there's multiple versions of shows that exist in it, and the Chamber one of them where it could go like the way of like
so many different ways.
Punk wins and there's no interference from Dom. Punk to win defaultly. Then the men's chamber, someone just, we get to that one, as there is a worst possible option for that one as well. And the box is revealed as the gobbledygooker. That's like the worst case scenario. Do you know what I mean? For this show to happen.
Yeah.
I'd go with AJ to win. championship.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's about those combinations, and often as you get through the show, that's when your mind starts going, actually, I think they might go in this direction instead. So it kind of does depend, as you say. Let's get to some more of these comments before we move on to the next match. Just trying to find where we were actually. We've got Cody Burris in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Join us over on Twitch, on the Rebellious Noise Twitch channel as well. Casper says, I don't see, but it's predictable. No part of me thinks CM Punk is losing the World Championship tomorrow in his hometown of Chicago. Good point as well to add that to the mix. It's a predictable match. CM Punk for me on this one. Of course, I mentioned a moment ago, AJ Lee went in there. Of course, she's not from Chicago, but very much would be representing Chicago as someone that lives there now, I believe, is CM Punk. And of course, have close ties to the city through Punk in general. CM Punk, I call this one. No way they put in WWE WrestleMania in jeopardy. That's a good point. AJ Lee. Now, this could go one or two ways against Becky Lynch. We get either a no finish, but a rematch at WrestleMania. That's a good point. We could definitely see something like that happening, Casper. Love Becky Lynch. You know I'm a big fan of her. Becky Lynch or put the title on AJ. Yeah, I agree. I think going into a no contest is something we could see to stretch out this, because again, it's a feud that does kind of have a mania written all over it in some extent as well. Exactly. Moshizi, I hope I'm saying that right. Jessica says, good day. The Elimination Chambers must have a good surprise, have a surprise ending. Yeah, again, we talked about how last year, John Cena's twist it's a huge one to live up to. I don't think it'll be quite on that kind of path, but I agree with you. I think there should be something big coming out of this. Not just people coming out of Chamber going, okay, what now for WrestleMania? All right, I guess we know this now. I think there needs to be a big story, because again, it's been kind of lackluster lately. So hopefully that will be the case. Casper says, the great is so funny. Johnny Gargano laying on top of it. The rumors one possibly it could go wrong, but it could be Danhausen and not Chris Jericho. Yeah, two of the biggest names I've heard around that one. But again, I'm sure we'll dive into the crate a little bit more over this weekend, again, especially on our build-up show. If you're new here, guys, my name is Scott. This is Lucas. This is the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. And on the night of a PLE, we hit you with a build-up show. We basically tried to get us and you guys hyped up and in the mood for that PLE, talking last-minute rumors and predictions, and usually with our friends from the wrestling media world. At the very moment in time, though, here on Friday night, you are joining us for the weekend kickoff show. WWE might be doing no kickoff this weekend, but doesn't mean there shouldn't be one. So myself and Lucas are here to keep you company on a Friday night. Again, if you're watching the build-up show, you may be watching us on the replay section on that, and we'll be going live again with up-to-date thoughts and opinions on it, because as I say, this at time of recording is a few hours away from the go-home SmackDown as well. Talking to going home, Lucas, we'll be doing that very soon. So let's move on to the main event. What I think might be the main event. Again, we've debated that on this stream already, but let's just, for argument's sake, say the main event of our stream, at least, is us talking about the men's Elimination Chamber match. Of course, we touched on it loosely earlier on, but all signs pointing towards Bronson Reed being in this match, but of course he sadly got injured on Monday Night Raw, so they made a quick decision and put Jey Uso. And I've got to admit, putting Jey Uso doesn't make him out of place, because he's been in big matches like this over the past few years anyway, so it's not that strange after all. But certainly will be interesting to see where they go with this now that they don't have that kind of vision representation as they would have done. So of course, as I say, Jey Uso, Javon Evans, we've got Trick Williams. I mean, when I say two names in a row like that, you start realizing that the landscape in WWE certainly is changing. Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, that's again a bit more of a legacy. Well, no pun intended. And then you've got LA Knight again, a figure that's been around for quite some years. So quite a mixed bag here. All very, very exciting though. Again, I'm so excited to see what Trick and Javon can do in this match. Not just because I think Javon, for example, in the Chamber will be exciting with his style of wrestling, but just seeing that kind of fresh kind of excitement. It reminds me how a few years ago when we had Tiffany Stratton kind of breaking out in the Elimination Chamber out in Perth as well. So I'm really excited seeing what those guys can do. I'll be honest, I'll come out of the gate straight away. I don't think either of them will be winning this, although if anyone's closer to it, it's Trick, because my goodness has that boy been on fire lately, rubbing shoulders with some of the big guys on SmackDown. So that for me takes them two out of it. I'm taking the Yeet Man out of it too as well, because he wasn't even meant to be in the match, so I think that would be unlikely. Look, we've seen stranger things happen before, don't get me wrong. LA Knight is the man they can never put the strap on, so I don't think he's getting anywhere near a WrestleMania main event. Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes are the ones I'm left with, and of course we are talking about a match now against Drew McIntyre. Now, I said to you, Lucas, a few days ago on our group chat, no, it was just direct when we were chatting. I said, look, it feels like Drew McIntyre has all of his enemies in one match, and he could just basically be in this match, and it could be for the title. Like, it's a bit of a strange kind of thing to do, that he's building up hating on everyone. I mean, Sami Zayn part of that as well. Jacob Fatu are not in this match, don't get me wrong, but he's basically making loads of enemies, and it looks like that'll probably be the downfall of Drew, don't get me wrong. But of course, the rumor has been for a long time now that it'd be Cody, Jacob Fatu, and Drew McIntyre. If not, just straight up Cody versus Drew. And I do think we're closer to that at the moment, because of course Jacob's not in this match, but I don't think it's impossible that he'd shoehorn his way into it. So basically that leads me into thinking that Cody Rhodes is gonna win this match. Otherwise someone else does it and Cody kind of gets screwed because of Jacob or Drew, and therefore it becomes a fatal four-way, in which case you have to find someone else here to win, and I haven't even got that far into thinking about it. So I'm going to go with a more obvious one, because I just feel like Cody's going to be in a title match. It'd be insane if that didn't happen. Not saying I would be against it, because I'd like to see a bit of a fresher approach to that and maybe have Cody do something else. But come on, there's surely no way Cody's not in that title match at WrestleMania. So for me, the way to get him there, I feel, is going to be him winning the Chamber. Again, doesn't have to be the way, but it just feels like the most likely one at the moment. What are your thoughts, mate?
So yeah, like this is a difficult. They're both difficult matches this year to predict, I think, because yeah, like obviously we've all heard the reports about Cody, Jacob, Drew, being on the plans for WrestleMania. Now I get a feeling that Jacob Fatu is going to be in this match, in this chamber. I get a feeling that they will do something where they add him in as a seventh person.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not taking someone out like Javon, like how we saw Edge take out, was it Kofi back in the day?
No. I think a smart way they could do it is, they do that weird thing, isn't it like four wrestlers come out, they go in the pods, and the first two come out. The first two come out to obviously start the match.
Yeah.
Jacob Fatu is a Samoan werewolf. He's an animal. Like he's I reckon he could break. He could maybe be in, like underneath the pods. He could just come out from underneath one of the pods and break into the match essentially. Particularly, they've done a lot of promos about him. Obviously, being in jail. He's obviously his previous life and stuff like that. This is literally a cage.
And he's breaking in instead of breaking out of jail, as you might
I think it's made for it. And also, I think they could swerve Cody not winning that way as well. I still think they're going to get to the title match between Cody and Drew and Jacob, or Cody and Drew, but I think they could have someone else win the Chamber. There's lots. There's 2 months. There's 2 months after this Chamber match goes down, and obviously, if the women's one is going to be a default of whoever wins, and then they just get the title match, they need to create. And he said Drew's basically got like so many enemies on this brand anyway. Like they need to find a way to get through those enemies, surely somehow. Because after this Chamber match, let's say Cody wins, which is most likely what's going to happen. So the other 5 just continue with their lives. Like,
yeah, I think even the field's a bit odd, because even my prediction of something like that, like someone else wins and Cody's screwed and Jacob's not in the match, or you think Jacob might be added, but for me it would be like Sammy would have been in this match, and because he would make sense as a fourth person in a fatal four-way. So like, if that's not going to be the case, and let's say Jacob doesn't get in the match but he gets involved and he does cost Cody, and it leads to Jacob and Cody getting into that match with Drew, there's still someone that wins this match to go into it. So looking at the field that we've got here, let's just say it went down that way. Out of the other 5, who do you think could be the 4th member of a fatal 4-way match. I mean, the only one I can think that they might book like that is probably Randy Orton. I guess LA Knight, they do give LA Knight big matches, don't get me wrong. It's just they don't really pull the trigger on him, and that could be the case. I mean, LA Knight being in the world title match at WrestleMania would still be a big thing for his CV, don't get me wrong. But yeah, if that was the case and it went down that way, which member of this group do you think would be the one that benefits from Cody being screwed?
Randy Orton.
Randy, yeah?
Randy Orton. Like, they cannot continue to dangle the carrot of Randy and Cody being...
But that needs to be a one-on-one, though, surely.
And I think this could be what they use to fuel it. Obviously, I don't think it will make them. I don't think it will be a Mania thing. It may end up being a SummerSlam thing or something down the line. But I just think the obvious feud has been right in front of them for so long. They've done teases. You know, they have the whole moment of Randy looking at the belt when Cody had it, and helping Cody, not being too sure about helping Cody. Then you got Cody basically now being a de facto heel, like walking around like he's literally a heel now. And then you got Randy Orton, who, you know, there's lots of people who need some respect put on their name, but Randy Orton, like, he hasn't won a match like on PLE for like 2 years. You know, you know, former, you know, let's be real, he's the only person really in a realistic shot of obviously ever getting close to seeing his record for the championships. Like, he hasn't been world champion since COVID, you know.
Yeah, true.
I think he had the RK Bro tag belts in there. I think that tag run he had 2021, 2022. Like, yeah, he hasn't had a championship at all for like 4 years. You know, lost to Cody in King of the Ring. Like, there's so much story here. And this genuinely is the most painful part about modern day WWE, in the fact that they're so used to just like, essentially their main thing, as we know now, is ripping us off for ticket prices and then ripping fans off for streaming services. But before, they used to be so good at these stories. Like, even if yes, like as we know in the Vince here, I think these stories got a bit silly. But it was always a case of, it's right there. Like, Randy and Cody is right there to do. Like, that is, in my opinion, and many fans' opinion, like a WrestleMania main event, you know, ready to go at any time. You don't need a chamber, set it up. You don't need a rumble. You don't need a title. It's just Randy and Cody. That story that started with Legacy, what, almost 20 years ago now?
Yeah.
You know? And their thing is, this is the thing, they're characters that we care about. It's a story we care about as fans. And it's just been ignored because it's February, so there has to be a chamber match. It's January. It has to be a Rumble match, the Rumble winner. Like, they just forget all these story bits that used to help make their product like really, really enjoyable to watch. But in absence of, so the default option basically is Cody Rhodes winning, and I think he's probably the favourite, and he's probably going to be the person who ends up winning. I still see Jacob Fatu definitely getting involved in the match somehow. Like I said, even if he's not in the match, I think he will make an appearance in the chamber. That absolutely just makes sense because, for reasons we've already discussed. Then you've got a dark horse, which, again, we are recording this, by the way, before SmackDown. And they've announced, by the way, on SmackDown that all 6 men's chamber people are going to be on the show, and the one in particular that I'm interested in is Mr. Trick Williams. Trick is over. Like, chanting him on Raw, he's not even on the brand. Like, they were chanting him. I think we're chanting him during the CM Punk promo, like on Raw. Like, Trick is over, and it's like, do they? You know, they've been talking about when they changed the belt to Drew. Obviously, that being a pivot, you know, on the road to WrestleMania. Like, there's another pivot here for Trick. He's over. People want him. They want to see him. And we've seen this time and time again, obviously, with Daniel Bryan. Remember Otis a few years ago? Remember Chad Gable for the IC title? Like, there's so many things where they just let slip. Like, is this the one? Is this the one that just go, you know what? Screw it. Let's just do it.
This time, let's just do it. Yeah.
Trick's over. Just do it. Just do the match. You know, he's more than capable of carrying it. Again, probably don't see that happening. Javon, I think he's in it to do a crazy spot off the pod. Let's be real. Yeah, he's in it to do a crazy crazy spot off the pod. But I think he'll get a good showing. Then, yeah, Jay's only just been added. I do feel, though, they may troll us a bit with Jay. For the default option, and again, I said this on my video I did on my thing quite recently. I said the default option here should be, okay, he wasn't meant to be in the match anyway, and, like, so technically should just get eliminated first, right? Yeah, that's the easy way of dealing with it. He wasn't meant to be in the match anyway, so we get rid of him, then the rest of the match that was planned can just happen because the other 5 are meant to be involved. But with Jay, as we know, there's the intense dislike from the IWC, and this crowd is Chicago. It's one of the most boisterous crowds in the world. I would troll them. If I was booking, I'll troll them with Jey Uso at least being the final 3 in this match, because whoever pins Jey Uso is made. The pop for pin is huge.
True.
But I guess the thing is, the pop's also there, I guess, if it is, say, Randy and Jay start, how cool would it be? Like, Jay starts yeeting and gets RKO'd out of nowhere, 1, 2, 3.
Mid-yeet.
Start of the chamber.
Yeah. So
there's options here. But yeah, I don't think it'd be Jay, just based on him not being meant to be in the match and also only qualifying on Monday. So yeah, I'm really torn between Randy and Cody. Haven't really discussed LA Knight.
Yeah, no love for LA Knight in this one.
No, I don't see it. The reason being, I think he's facing Brock. I think that's a done deal. So I don't think it makes any sense. Yeah, I think he's facing Brock. So yeah, it leaves me basically between Randy and Cody. Which, to be fair, even without the whole Brock Lesnar thing, I did think that's what I thought anyway. I would prefer Randy, which is bonkers because, you know, you shouldn't really be like this, but I would prefer Randy. I think there's lots more story options to come off of that. And if it gets us to Cody and Randy down the line, that's what I prefer.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if it is someone wins at the, you know, expense of Cody, then Randy would make sense because it would continue to bubble under the surface, and maybe something happens at WrestleMania, and then eventually, as I say, it becomes just them two going at SummerSlam. Whether it's for the title, without the title, I think that's a storyline that, of course, makes sense. Something we haven't really spoken about is whether or not, you know, other than Cody, really, any of these could go in without it being a triple threat and Cody still being involved, or, you know, Jacob Fatu being involved or anything like that. I mean, I think that's when it makes it even less likely that anyone else in this is going to win. I mean, Knight versus Drew McIntyre, just don't see it. Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre, don't see it. Jay, Javon, Trick versus Drew. I mean, I think you made a good case for Trick there, but again, it just doesn't seem very likely at the moment. And it would be a change of dynamics. He'd definitely have to be the babyface, which I think could happen because, as you say, he's over, and you know, he's over in a way where they could easily turn him babyface officially. So yeah, again, while, you know, we start the show with, you know, this kind of, I guess, somewhat down feeling of like, why is it no one contendership? And some of these things are kind of obvious. They do, to their credit, have a lot of different ways it can go. It's just whether or not they bite the bullet, you know, pull the trigger on that, or to use a different gun analogy, or, you know, again, is it all based on how the night feeds into itself? As we mentioned earlier on, if this thing happens, well, then this kind of has to happen. If this downer happens, then this thing needs to lift them up. So it really is going to be kind of interesting to tell as the show unfolds. As we've mentioned, this is being recorded just before SmackDown, a few hours away, and Lucas, of course, has told us that we are expecting to see all 6 men from the chamber appearing on SmackDown as well. So come the build-up show, we might have a clearer idea when it comes to this match. If you're unaware of what the build-up show is, if you've just tuned in, the build-up show is what we do on the night of a PLE. We go live and talk last-minute rumors, and we kind of give updated thoughts on our predictions based on those kind of go-home shows and last-minute rumors as well. We usually got our friends from the wrestling media world joining us, and they give us their kind of insight as well. So it's usually a really fun time to join us live on the channel. But what you've been watching tonight, though, on Friday evening, is the weekend kickoff show. Again, you may be watching this as part of the earlier portion of the build-up show when we use it as a kind of replay there as well. But again, the idea is to kind of get you in the mood for this weekend's events. Let's get to some of these comments before we do wrap up, though. We've got, let's see where we were. I can see some from Casper. Let me see if this was one of the last ones we didn't do. For the men's elimination chamber, I'm going for Cody Rhodes. This one, predictable elimination chamber match for me, makes more logical sense. I hope not, but I do see it with Cody Rhodes. Also says I'm down for Triple threat match. Cody versus Jacob versus Drew at WrestleMania, but I'm going to struggle dealing with one-on-one match between Cody and Drew. I completely agree with you, Casper.
Especially after having the three as well. It would feel a bit weird to then be like, oh, we're going to have like a normal match.
Yeah, and for Jacob, like just to kind of go into the wilderness after kind of already being at risk when he came back of not capitalizing on where he was when he left, and then working very hard, as I've said on this channel already, to kind of get himself into a position that kind of makes people want to see him again, because it was risky bringing him about the way they did, but I think it's actually quite worked out, so they don't want to waste that. Could possibly see a heel turn, says Casper, coming for Randy Orton. I like Randy Orton to win this one, but I'm sticking to Cody Rhodes to win. I said Dark Arrow, Tom Brady calling him cute, but oh yeah, Tom. Yep. Trick Williams, I know it was over, but not to pull the trigger on Trick Williams. I can't see it. Seth could face Brock Lesnar, I could see, but Gunther is interested in WrestleMania 42. Who's he facing? Yeah, that's a good point as well. This is the thing. It's a huge roster at the moment with so many different things, and when you have these 4-match cards, despite 2 of them being multi-person matches, there are people being left off shows that will certainly have something to say about WrestleMania. So it'll be interesting to see where we go after the chamber. But look, it's not over yet. We've still got our build-up show to dive into some more of these theories and stuff like that as well. Before we do get out of here, Lucas, do you want to just let the people know where they can find you? Again, we plugged your channel a little bit here tonight, but again, I know you've done some extra chamber content over there. So let the guys know where they can find more of your wrestling content.
So yeah, obviously this is long form content. You know, guys, like joining us the last hour or so. Obviously, you're about to join us for the build up portion. That'll be an hour and a half or so. But I am Mr. Short form content at the moment. I'm on YouTube Shorts on Lucas Jackson Show, and obviously I've been dealing. Hopefully, by the time you watch this, I would have done a deep dive or deepish dive, as much as Shorts will allow, of each Elimination Chamber participant for both the men and the women for this year. But yes, on the Lucas Jackson Show. And, because I'm going to save my thoughts on the crate until tomorrow, I will not be discussing the crate on my channel at all.
An exclusive, Lucas. I love it.
I will only be saying my thoughts on the crate on this channel tomorrow.
Look, just as Casper was asking about the crate as well, Casper, we'll get there. Don't you worry. I know you was tuning to the build-up anyway, but hey, we've got to have a hook for people, right? Come and join us on the build-up.
Great tomorrow. I mean, mainly because I want to see how SmackDown goes tonight. And because I think there may be, I want to see if there's any clues, anything in particular. Obviously, what comes out dirt sheet-wise. I think tomorrow will be a heavy day for the dirt sheet, so probably licking their lips, all of them, because one would imagine that there'd be the usual sightings and flight tracking and all that kind of stuff. Potentially about
definitely
certain, but yeah, we will do that tomorrow.
Yeah. All right, tomorrow, he says. Well, tomorrow has come. It is now Saturday night, and we are here just a few hours away, an hour and a half, just about, anyway, from Elimination Chamber, guys. It is time to talk all things build up for Elimination Chamber, and we're going to do that right after this.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.
All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Here we are for the live portion of the build-up show. Again, it's about getting us and you guys hyped up and in the mood for the big PLE. Thank you for tuning in there. You would have seen the earlier portion of the build-up show. We did go live. I was loving your comments, by the way, and loving your comments continuing while we showed our weekend kickoff show as well. That is the stream you saw just a moment ago in a replay form, but you're now tuned in live for the live portion of the build-up show as well. So appreciate those that stuck by for that and those that tuned in last night as well. But we are, as I say, not very long away now from the PLE itself, and these streams are some of my favorites to do. We, again, as you would have seen, Lucas mentioned in last night's one, we start talking last minute rumors. Who's flying into Chicago? Is CM Punk? I'm joking, that's an old school rumor nowadays. Of course he's there. But there's a lot to discuss. Again, SmackDown changed quite a bit for me. We saw the Masked Man, sort of. We saw Jacob Fatu do some very interesting things. We saw Jey Uso get taken out in the match. Logan Paul go into the match. Rhea Ripley lose her tag title. So there's a lot of things that I think have now factored into predictions. And again, it will be interesting once Lucas rejoins us on the stream very soon to see if his thoughts and opinions have changed. Because I think some of mine definitely have as well. Or they lean heavier in a certain direction, at least. Made me think a little bit more. But guys, I want to know what you guys are doing. What is your routine for a PLE? We love talking things like snacks and stuff like that. So I want to know what you're going to be eating during tonight's PLE, or is it today's PLE? Depending on where you're watching around the world, we appreciate it. We do get worldwide viewers, and we thank you so much for tuning in. For me, I'm starting off with a nice beer. So cheers. Hope you are excited for Elimination Chamber. Look, when we came on air yesterday, we were talking about how it wasn't the most exciting build so far for WrestleMania. But again, I've got to give credit where it's due. And this is when WWE have their backs against the wall and they end up making these kind of interesting decisions. But, you know, the injury to Bronson Reed that led to them calling audible, picking Jay, and then basically finding a way to get Jay out of it and stick Logan in as their representation for the division, I think was very, very interesting way to do things. And again, it's kind of opened things up again a little bit more as to what they originally were going to book. Surely there's some sort of vision stuff going on. At the same time, I don't think they would have been using the fake or decoy Masked Man. So there were rumors the other day that the Masked Man storyline would be dropped. I don't know. I think that we are going to get the real Masked Man eventually. A few comments here. We'll get to some of those in a moment. And again, I appreciate the comments that were flying in while we were showing our replay. We'll get to some of those as well because there were some good discussions going on in the chat. So let's get to some of that in just a little bit. Casper agrees that he does think we're going to get another Masked Man at the Elimination Chamber as well. VSS United says, what do you think about Cody being a part of the Vision? I mean, that would be an interesting twist, wouldn't it? If Cody become not only a heel, but was the leader of the Vision. It'd be cool. Just anything to shake things up and freshen up Cody. I'm kind of for it. Sludge says, today I don't know what I'm having. I just had a coffee, but I'll probably order some food later. Let you know when I decide. Thank you, Sludge. Appreciate that. Again, always good to hear what your routines are, what you're eating, what you're drinking on the way to the PLE and during the PLE as well. Look, this is back on your regular time. It's a North American show, of course. So a few months back, it was a bit weird. I was literally having my dinner watching it, but usually I'm having a late night feast. This time around, I'm not sure how much I'm actually going to watch live. So we won't be doing an instant reaction review today. Apologies, guys. Because again, I'm just not sure if I'm going to be up at the end of it. But we'll try and cover as much as we can, of course, on the road to WrestleMania once Elimination Chamber is out of the way. But hey, it's not out of the way yet. We are fully in the zone for the chamber itself. So let me know what you think is going to happen tonight. Let me know what you are most looking forward to match-wise and what your predictions are overall. Casper says, I'm still sticking with most of my predictions from last night. SmackDown was interesting. Goes for Cody Rhodes, Tiffany Stratton, and CM Punk to win. Yeah, I agree. I think they are still very, very likely picks. Again, not the first two ones I definitely don't want to see. The third one is the most nailed on for me. But but we'll have to see. I think the AJ Lee one could throw up a little bit of a surprise here as well. I mean, they all could, to be fair. We just got some that look a little bit nailed on and hopefully aren't. Cody sells his soul to the final boss. It finally happened, says VSS United. Look, we are, again, not too far away from the show itself, and we did do a whole round of predictions last night, but as I said, SmackDown changed a lot, in my opinion. It really at least brought up a lot of new cool discussion kind of points for us tonight as well. So we are going to be doing that very, very soon as I bring Lucas back into the fold as well, as I see he's just lurking in the background getting ready. But keep your comments coming, guys. Let me know what you think of tonight's show and the card itself. Again, only a 4-match card. Fatu gets back at Cody, and Cody loses because of him. Of course, a big thing we saw last night was that Jacob Fatu looked a bit suspicious. Didn't end up winning his way back into the chamber after all, and that was because he was screwed by Drew McIntyre. And again, much of this Elimination Chamber not only hinders around Drew and his title, but just people hating Drew. So, and like guys that aren't even in it didn't even get to be in it, and they're the ones that are look more likely to face him at Mania. We're talking Jacob Fatu, we're talking, well, Cody Rhodes is in it, but maybe even a Sami Zayn as well. As I say, once Lucas is ready, we'll bring him back into the fold here as well. But let me get to some of these comments that we had while we were playing our stream of the replay of last night's weekend kickoff show. VSS United was speculating whether or not Karrion Kross could be in a box. And again, I was saying, look, that would be quite a swerve for sure. But yeah, Karrion Kross, one of the rumored names now officially, I'm going to say. Danhausen, of course, the biggest one out there at the moment. I think it is going to be Danhausen, but maybe it will be Chris Jericho. I like the comment earlier. I think it was either from Sludge or Aiden. I can't remember now. I can't find it. But someone was saying, maybe it could be an extra participant. It basically ends up becoming a pod. I thought that was an interesting way to use it as well. What else do we have? Sludge asked if Bron Breakker could be faking his injury like Seth Rollins. And again, I was in the chat while we were watching that replay together. But I think it's probably not the case. But it would be interesting. What a storyline, right? That Bron Breakker learned from his master. And maybe when Seth comes back, Bron comes back quicker than we expected. And that's the way to do it as well. A lot of people think Cody Rhodes is winning, but Lynette doesn't see it happening. Sees that maybe it will be Randy Orton or Trick Williams. Again, Lucas talked a little bit about Trick Williams winning it last night and how much of a surprise that would be. And quite refreshing. I just don't think it's going to happen. Lynette also thinks Raquel's going to win. Again, another one that Lucas dove into a little bit more in detail on last night's stream. Again, when Lucas joins us in a moment, we'll talk a little bit more about his updated thoughts, because again, the field has changed for the men's and for the women's. Even though the competitors haven't changed, the field has changed because Rhea Ripley is no longer a tag team title holder. So that I think is really, really going to put a spanner in the works here. What else did we have while we were on the weekend kickoff show before we jump back into our updated predictions in just a moment? Again, a lot of talk about maybe it being Danhausen. We talked a little bit in the chat about Lash Legend as well, also being quite impressive. Of course, again, she is one of the people that took the title off of Rhea Ripley. So we'll again, I'll be seeing more of Lash Legend coming up soon. I'm sure it's the start of many big things for her. CM Punk all the way, says Lynette. Again, I can't see it being any different. Although I do want to bring your attention to a tweet I saw from Finn Balor, which says, "Sorry to ruin everyone's WrestleMania, but I just done 5,000 Hindus. So I'm going on Saturday. Bye." I don't buy it, Finn. But I do think that's a funny little tweet in character. So good for you, mate. Let's bring in Lucas, and again, we're going to find out what he thinks of Elimination Chamber, as we are just over an hour away from kicking off. And again, some big stories coming out of Friday Night SmackDown, which I do think will play a part in our updated predictions. Lucas, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. Obviously done a lot of videos today, obviously about the chamber, and obviously I just heard while I was in the waiting room to come in, was you talking about the updates that have happened. Obviously we got a different participant in the men's chamber, as Logan Paul has replaced Jey Uso via, well, a lot of interference in that match.
Yeah.
SmackDown yesterday, and we've also, like you said, Rhea Ripley is no longer the tag team champion, as Rio lost to the Irresistible Forces last night on SmackDown. So yeah, we got like a lot of different kind of bits and pieces, but it does seem that all eyes are on the crate. And what is in this crate? Obviously, we did not discuss it yesterday. Those of us who obviously watched the if you watched the replay, whether you watched it live with us yesterday, we didn't really touch much upon the crate because like that is kind of the big thing. I touched upon it during my predictions, and the reason why is because there's so many different things that it could be, and if it has an impact on the show, because some again, I mean, some predictions are obviously for a person, and some predictions are for it being an item that links to the person, or for it to be a separate kind of item that might impact tonight. So for example, I saw a couple of comments from people saying that it could be something that they're going to use, something for someone to use inside the chamber. Some people have mentioned, I saw a comment earlier saying it could be a ball rope for Cody Rhodes, for example.
Yeah.
That he said it's shipped over for the chamber match, and obviously a ball rope he's obsessed with. It's his dad's match. Other people say it could be something to do with, and this is probably the worst case scenario, a promotional opportunity of some sort. So whether it's something, the big blown up video game cover for 2K26, or whether it's another advert or something for whatever a big dude wipe maybe, something like that. And this the thing. These are worst case scenarios, but these things could happen. But I think because it's been featured so heavily, I think it has to be something that impacts the roster for me.
Yeah, I'm going to get to some of the comments we've seen earlier on tonight, Lucas, about the crate specifically. Sludge has given some good ideas, saying that maybe the crate has Jericho's light up jacket. I like that idea. I think that'd be a cool way to reintroduce Jericho. Maybe Jericho's not in the pod, but that's the way to do it. Of course, we'll get to some of the names of who could be in the pod if it is a wrestler in a little bit. But another great comment from Sludge here as well that says, could it be an extra pod that becomes basically a new kind of entrant to the match? I think that'd be an interesting way to do it. Now, I said earlier on, I'm not a fan of WWE just going, oh, these are the rules now, this is how we do things, but they do stuff like that. So if they're gonna do something crazy like that, like add a seventh person, which you did speculate yourself last night, and it just ended up being like they put the crate in the ring, like for some reason an authority figure goes, yeah, I'm in on this, it's okay, puts it in the ring, and then just someone comes out and goes, yeah, I'm the seventh member of the match. You never know, stranger things have happened. But yeah, I mean,
it's goofy, but like it is something which WWE have got track record of doing. I think ultimately they have done those 7 people in the chamber previously, and they started the match, I believe, as a triple threat. So they still have the 4 pods, but 3 people started.
They could do that. Yeah.
It's very awkward. I guess we've got to go category by category. I mean, my thoughts are that it's going to be an item that links to a person, and that person will be there, or there'll be an announcement of when the person is going to be there. I lean more towards the first, because I think, given the fact they're in Chicago, really hot wrestling crowd, if it is an item linked to like a Jericho or a Danhausen or some of these bigger names that are coming out of this, and that person isn't there, I think that's a bit in poor taste. But I think it still could lean to it being an item that will then reveal the next clue potentially of when this person is going to make the appearance. So, for example, it could be a countdown clock that's a countdown to Monday Night Raw or to SmackDown or something else down the line. That will then obviously signify that is Chris Jericho. Or it could be, a mask or a mannequin or something that has written on it, again, like a date or something to link to Danhausen, for example. But I think it would be in very, very poor taste for them to not have the person there. Though I do think that they're not going to have the person in the box. I think that the thing is, they've got the pop already for whenever the box opens. So the thing is, the crowd are going to react whenever that box opens. But then you get a secondary pop if it is the person.
So let it settle a little bit, and then here's the reveal of what that means, basically.
Yeah. And so that's what I'm leaning towards. Like, what do you think it's the same, or do you think something different?
I really don't know. I mean, again, on last night's stream, we joked about, you know, the gobbledygooker and Vince McMahon's other egg, the one he had a few years ago, and you know, there's that side of things for me. But then I mean, I've been more thinking it's a wrestler. The wrestler will be in the box, but I like the idea you put there. I also like the idea of, you know, an item, like you say, and also like Sludge says, like Jericho's light-up jacket, or even like, as you say, a countdown or something like that. I think you can get away with it with a countdown because it'd be so obvious who it is, and kind of. But there will, as you say, there'll be fans in Chicago booing that he's not there. So I think it will be a reveal of whatever it is will be revealed as like tonight. It won't be a kind of, oh, okay, and this is the next clue sort of thing. Unless it, you know, lasts 2 minutes, you know. But
yeah, I think if they were doing the clues thing, I think they should have done it where perhaps
there was a few.
A few. They did it
Yeah.
over TV and the reveal on the PLE.
Yeah.
I think that would have been the way to do it, particularly because they've been obviously international and they've been doing all bits and pieces. It would have been good to have this as like the build up to what they've done. But yeah, it's now the next thing is, I guess we're both in agreement that it's going to be someone linked to a person who will be there. But the next thing is, where do you put this announcement?
Yeah, it depends who the wrestler is as well, because like it's certain wrestlers, it's within a match, and some people, some it's like someone comes out and they're like, I'm sick of this whole crate thing, and they try and get open or something like that, and it's just like, you know, your current heel going against legendary babyface Jericho, like that would make sense. Otherwise, is it storyline based? And that's what's kind of hard to tell. I mean, let's go through some of the names and then we can kind of see where they might slot in. We've got what a name, baked potato of says Joe Hendry. Oh, sorry. Okay, it says
Sass. Yeah. I think you
Woo-wee! When I was asking for people's midnight snacks, I weren't expecting something like that. Right, I saw a prediction of it being Seth Rollins. I mean, that, who knows? Maybe it could be Seth Rollins. Talking of items, I don't think it's linked to this crate thing, but VSS United says, will Logan have his Bryce Nux? I think he might do. Just a few comments here as well before we dive deeper into the crate. Alex from MWA says, hello, Rebellious Noise Universe. Good to see you, Alex. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for tuning in. And Casper says hello specifically to you, Lucas, now that you've joined the stream as well. Keep the comments coming, guys. I can see some more interesting discussions there, which we'll dive into a little bit deeper when we have match by match kind of conversation. But at the moment, we're going to stick to the crate. VSS says it could be a QR code. Sludge says the worst thing. Everybody goes online at the same time. The worst thing it could be is a draft podium or the anonymous
the manager thing.
Ace Taylor says, if Finn Balor doesn't win a title, it's going to be a boring WrestleMania build-up because that would be so shocking and cool. And Finn deserves the strap again. We'll get back to things like that in a moment, Ace, but I appreciate your comment. Definitely think shaking it up is something that they need to do, but is 99.999% unlikely, in my opinion, as far as that match goes. Takara Alex says, I don't care about, Danhausen. He's just another bootleg Bray Wyatt. I think completely different character for me, but harsh, mate, harsh. The Masked Man, Don Furio, SmackDown Masked Man. Who is that? We'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit as well, Casper. And also, I don't care about Hendry. He's another trash. Oh, come on, Takara, Alex, you're on fire tonight. What's going on? Right, let's get to
that first comment about Seth Rollins.
Go on, let's go back to Seth Rollins.
Baked potato of Sass put up the comment about Seth Rollins. Now, the problem is with Seth Rollins, for me now, is he becoming a bit like the boy who cried wolf. There's only so many times he can be a surprise or be a revelation of something, and I think they've kind of overdone it. Obviously, it's very difficult to know the extent of injuries nowadays, as they deliberately do a good job of mastering these things. But it does seem that it's very unlikely to be him. I think, obviously, it is now linked to that last comment we just had, or one of the last comments we just had, regarding from Casper about who the Masked Man was. And we did yesterday get a Masked Man reveal. But we all know that this random Donny, who just rocked up and got the mask taken off him is not the person who's doing these attacks. And the nicest possible way, they're not going to go to a trainee of Seth Rollins' school and be like, "Oh, this is how you debut in the company as part of one of our biggest angles." But they're doing too much of this stuff all at once, because you've also still got who attacked Jacob Fatu, going on, and then obviously who attacked Jey Uso. They just started that, last night as well.
Yeah, Lucas, I saw this tweet earlier on that compared it to Scooby-Doo because you got Mystery Man, Mystery Cat, Great Mystery Opponent, like Masked Man. Oh,
I think they must have like a dartboard or something, in the office, and they just throw darts at it. And if for some reason someone's really good at hitting, Mark's Attacker, Mark's Attacker every single week.
Yeah.
It's at the risk of, if it's Rollins, it's at the risk of getting a bit silly now, I think, for him to have yet another kind of thing that he does like this. And it also, I think it would be a bit anticlimactic as well if it is him. I think that it needs to be something that hasn't existed in at least the last year of WWE. Which again, if it is obviously something like an advert, or again, I hope it's not. At least it will be something that's new. That's new, something new. That's not just a rehash what we've had already. I don't think it's Rollins. I think that'd be very at this point.
Yeah, it doesn't feel, and it feels like it doesn't link in with the Masked Man stuff either. I think the Masked Man situation will itself be related to Rollins because they're going after the Vision. I am interested. I mean, again, we're kind of having two conversations here, but I am interested in the decision to pick one of Rollins' students because I think they would know that people would figure that out, and they'd. I think they were never going to do this kind of decoy Masked Man, but they clearly played up to it that we don't believe that is the Masked Man all along. They quickly kind of acted like that. So whether or not they scrap it or they have put it on pause and this is a way to do it, and eventually when Seth comes back, he says, like, I sent one of my students as a, or one of my students kind of got involved when they shouldn't have, or something like that, and kind of leave it at that. And it doesn't have to be a big debut or anything, as you mentioned. But I am interested.
In terms of your question, you asked obviously where this would go. I'm assuming if it is going to be Seth Rollins, I'm assuming you then put it in front of the men's chamber match, which you believe will be the main event of tonight's show. I'm still of the belief that I think CM Punk will main event. But yeah, either way, I'd have put this before. It's hard to do it during the match. Because ideally it should be during. I guess it could be like maybe it's going to be on the stage for the whole show, and then during the chamber match it then opens, and that would actually be a good place for it to open because everyone's locked in the chamber.
Or like put it in a pod. Like once the first person's out of the pod, wheel it in a pod and just leave it in there. Just leave it there for a bit. All right, let's move away from Seth Rollins because again that brings into the Masked Man, the Division, and all that, and I think that is separate. So let's just bring it back to the crate then. If you said to me, all right, lay some money on it, what is the most likely? For me, it is Danhausen because it feels kind of not, obviously it's not spooky, a crate, but like it's I don't know, it's kind of
ominous, isn't
it? Exactly. And his character is a bit like that, of course, in a comedic way. I do think he would work well in WWE. By all accounts, he's good friends with CM Punk, so debuting in Chicago would be a nice little nod as well. He has just recently been very active on social media, put up the image of the shackles coming off of the genie's hands in Aladdin. He is off of AEW's roster page, so there's a lot going on at the moment. It just feels like the timing is so kind of perfect for it to not be him, really. Then the next candidate for me is Chris Jericho because there's been talk about him for a long time, but again, depending on what reports you believe, he might be on his way back to AEW anyway, so that's kind of not as sure as it felt, kind of going into the new year. So for me, I think it probably will be Danhausen. Therefore, if it's Danhausen, it will be in a comedic spot. It might even be something they use on air where him and Punk become a kind of duo, kind of comedically, you know, and I think it will give Punk new. I mean, it's not the right time to do it as far as what Punk's doing. He's going to a big serious storyline with Roman Reigns into WrestleMania, but on the fringes at least, kind of being like welcoming, being the guy that welcomes him in and kind of vouches for him, if you will, in front of the WWE audience. So I think that's a possibility, and maybe he shows up in this match. But the optics for Punk needing help to win against Finn Balor with Danhausen is not great, unless you've got the Judgment Day beating Punk up or something like that, and then it comes out then. But that's a preempted thing, so you'd have to be suspending your disbelief quite a bit as far as what you believe about these characters as well.
But I guess that's where, if the crate is on display somewhere for the entire show, it could work though. Like, this is the thing. There's so much of this crate, because like, are they have it on the stage, or is it going to be wheeled out specifically for a segment and a moment, or is it going to be backstage? And then revealed backstage or whatever in some sort of cinematic way, which again would suit Danhausen very well. Like, if the crate is backstage and they've already filmed something early in the day, and it's some sort of, with respect, like the production value they could add to this could be really, really good. And then yes, like, this happens. My only fear with it being Danhausen is that he's not a globally known name. He is obviously well known amongst obviously AEW fans, and kind of on the fringe of the WWE ones, but he's not the most well known. So I do fear there may be a little bit of backlash if it is him. Obviously, Jericho has been the discussion for a long time. People were sure he was going to show up at Cena's last match, then at the Rumble. Then it was a Raw Netflix premiere. Then it was a Rumble. Now, obviously, we're at the Chamber. And initially as well, people were discussing it being Jericho and Punk at Mania, but that's clearly not going to happen. I guess, weirdly, it's probably more likely to happen than, bless him, sorry, Ace Sailor, but Finn Balor, winning, beating Punk. I'd say if the Jericho is kind of involved somehow, this match will most likely happen. Maybe not at WrestleMania, but on the road to it. I don't know if they've got like a Saturday Night's Main Event or something en route. I don't think they have, actually. They don't usually have one, don't they? They usually leave it from the Chamber straight through to Mania.
Yeah.
But yeah, Danhausen, it suits, because the box is very ominous, isn't it? It's very ominous, and we've discussed, and obviously many people discussed, it could be anything. It could be anything, and so I guess it does link more to someone like a Danhausen, who, again, the other thing as well is, will he keep his name?
Yeah, I mean, he had his name pre-AEW. WWE like to do that, and even with Royce Keys, they even showed the graphic, didn't they, for Powerhouse Hobbs as well. Yeah. Let's get to some of these comments about it. I can see Takara Alex has been clarifying his negative thoughts around Joe Hendry, which we'll get to in a minute. Takara, thank you for those extra comments. We'll get to that very soon. But I just want to get to some of the ones that are related to the crate discussion first of all. Casper says the crowd could pop for Danhausen, but see a lot of negativity today surrounding the crate online. Sludge says, if you guys play WWE 2K, then 2K23's My Rise had this same sort of story, but instead of a crate, it was a safe. So this is coming out of maybe the playbooks of 2K here as well. Casper says that Jericho is still on the AEW roster page. So I guess but if they knew the hype, even though they've done it for Danhausen, I think they might even keep it up just to stop people speculating and tuning into WWE. If they took it off tonight, people would be tuning in. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, that's always updated as well. But this has been the thing ongoing, hasn't it, for Jericho? He's been on the roster page for quite some time. With AEW, the Fozzy tour has ended. The European tour ended last week, didn't it? And so that's what made people think, again, that this could be the time. Obviously, for the Rumble, it was the start of the Fozzy tour, so it wouldn't have fit timeline-wise. But I do kind of think it's one of those where he's never going to speak about it, and until it doesn't happen. that's the thing. Until it doesn't or does happen, that's when Jericho will speak. And obviously, that's not really going to happen until Jericho shows up either on WWE programming or on
AEW.
W programming once again.
Yeah.
So we may, it may come out that there was never even discussions, or that discussion, broke down very, very quickly. Because I imagine I would want a certain level of creative control and certain bits and pieces that the WWE obviously want as well. But yeah, so sorry, someone Sludge, you said about that storyline. So the safe. What was in the safe? Left us hanging with that.
Yeah.
So
What was in the safe?
I haven't played these 2K games properly in years. So what was in the safe? Was it a wrestler or was it something silly?
Yeah.
So what else have we got on the crate then?
So I mean, for the Danhausen thing, I just want to touch on one of the points you made about I guess how known he would be to the WWE audience. I think it would be made up by the Chicago fans knowing him and him being a comedic character with an interesting face paint and interesting mannerisms that I think he'd slot into straight away. And the audience, if you didn't know him, I remember a lot of times when I was a kid watching WWE, and quite often they do a really good job at telling me straight away the kind of character I was looking at, and that he was important and that other people knew him, and I better get to grips basically quickly to figure out what was going on here. And you'd almost learn their backstory kind of quickly. And I think that's the kind of thing you can do, especially in this day and age, but with a character like Danhausen. You can see Danhausen, and yeah, there is a chance you go, oh, is he a spooky character, like a White Six type thing, or is he what he actually is, which is more comedic? And I think that happened very, very quickly when it comes to Danhausen.
I think, and I do hope that if it is Danhausen, or even if it's not, obviously if he's going to end up there anyway, I hope that it goes more down the comedic route than the spooky stuff. I think, it's obviously not part of the show tonight, but the White Six, a lot of their failure has been in this spooky stuff not really working. I don't think they need like another character for it just not to work with in this day and age. I think the comedic stuff is actually desperately needed, to be fair. That mid card is, on either brand really, desperately needs that kind of character. And I think it would be a good way of debuting him. And I would be, quite surprising that for me anyway, that he's gone straight to the main roster, if that is the case. But I can see that he injects something which is sorely needed. Obviously, Ricky Saints, going to NXT, and obviously Blake Monroe as well. Like, I think, end of the day, like, they've got enough of the kind of face or villain Ricky Saints is that exists multiple times over on the main roster, so it quite quickly get lost in the shuffle. Same thing with Blake Monroe, like, her act has been done similarly anyway on the main roster already. So I can see that. But someone like a Danhausen, he's truly one of a kind, in all of wrestling. So I think he definitely would deserve that spot. And yeah, I'm with you in thinking, we're being Chicago, it's probably the best crowd to try to debut someone like this. Because they are a very hot wrestling crowd, I'd say, alongside maybe New York and Philadelphia. Those would be the three kind of top ones, I'd say. If you're going to try and debut someone that's never taken a bump inside your ring before, these are probably the areas to do it in, because they're wrestling fans. And obviously AEW, obviously not so much now that Punk has left AEW, but they definitely had a big presence in Chicago for a long time while Punk was part of the Rock.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, this should be the crowd to do it at. But be interested to see how they do it. But for me, I think if it is Danhausen, it probably is its own thing, separate from the show we're seeing tonight. And that's fine, because obviously we're only having 4 matches.
You need to pad it out somewhere, right?
Yeah, it has to have something. It'd be nice to have something different. And I'll probably just put it bang in the middle of the show, to be fair. I'm assuming they were open with the women's chamber. My prediction is that the men's chamber will be third, which will leave the women's IC, basically the women's half and the men's half, essentially, of the show. But even if it does end up being the other way round, I'd still just say bang in the middle, basically, would be a perfect spot to put this crate and to reveal Danhausen. That also gives the rest of the show the that you give them to give you a little talking point, and them to potentially put a match graphic up or a graphic up, I guess, as to when Danhausen would make his first kind of
Like from Raw.
Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah.
And I'd even argue with someone who could free agent. To be fair, I think both brands could need a character like this, and I think that it could be a fun thing where he could bounce between the different brands, at least over this Mania season, where they're obviously really, really wanting both ticket sales and the viewership, particularly for SmackDown.
Yeah, I like the idea, like you say, of putting him in the middle and then still kind of you still got something to promote afterwards, him doing something else. There'll be a lot of talk and intrigue about him. And even my idea of like it doesn't have to be in the Punk match, but Punk giving him that nod backstage, with whatever weird shenanigans are going on. But look, that's the crate. There are a few more names flying around there. But we've got our own mystery crate to be opening here, Lucas, because I'm very pleased to say we've got someone joining the stream that we haven't seen for quite some time on the channel. But let's open our mysterious crate and bring back our very own resident luchador. Is Rob, everybody. Wow. How you doing?
What's happening? You good?
How are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm all right. I've as would we say Chad Gable would be, I guess exploring lucha backgrounds.
Gotcha,
and learning Mexico. No, I'm good, man. It's obviously been a while. Obviously, I was on the stream for a bit. I just, like I said to you guys, I kind of fell out of love with just wrestling. I don't know what it was. There was something about it for ages, and I just got more miserable than I actually did get more enjoyment out of watching it.
Sheesh. And
like, I don't know. So I was away for about a year, 2 years, maybe a year and a half, something like that. And I just got sick of it. Like I couldn't watch it enough. Because at one point I was watching Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW.
You were doing everything, man. TNA, MLW,
everything.
There's no wonder you're burnt out, man.
And it just threw me for a loop, and I was like, you know what? I'm sick of it. And the more I watched it, the more I found faults in everything. Then the transition with the Triple H era kind of really growing and things like that. And then the 5-match PLEs, then everything else coming in. I was kind of dipping in and out, and I was like, no wonder I just got bored. I just didn't enjoy it. But so far so good. I've watched everything, almost everything. I kept up to date. I've kind of dipped away from AEW a little bit, and kind of just tuned in more on Twitter. But I'm good. I'm here. I'm weirdly excited for Elimination Chamber, even though there's only 4 matches.
Yeah, well, we'll get into your predictions for all of these matches, I'm sure, and I want to know what you think is going to be in WWE's crate. But again, I think our surprise is even better, so don't worry about that. Sludge welcomes you back. He says, "It's okay, Rob. Sometimes I feel that way when I watch Dragon Lee." Of course, Sludge, famously a hater of Dragon Lee, and for some reason, we've never discovered why. But let's get to some of these comments here as well. I do want to go back to Kara. Sludge also said, as long as you don't like Dragon Lee, you can like whoever you want. When he was talking about Takara not liking Joe Hendry, he said, just clarifying some of these points about Hendry, he says Jordan Grace is the best women's contract signee and transfer from NXT towards the main roster, but Joe's got to step up. It's not a diss. It's not a Joe diss. He just ain't face someone that would take him seriously. Maybe Sammy as Joe as new tag division, which is needed. It would get Joe over. And then also says, I think WWE needs to focus on Joe Hendry instead of having him be promoted by different things. Again, back to some of that Danhausen talk there as well. There was a comment here. What did I see? Where did I see it? There was... I've missed it now. It was Sludge again, basically saying... Oh, here we go. Oh, no, it wasn't that one. This is Sludge telling us about the crate that we mentioned earlier on, Lucas. He said that about the safe. In the safe, it was just your character that you play as, and his name in the game is called The Lock. Oh, my gosh, really? It was just your character that you play as. Not the most exciting then. They can't really do that on tonight's show. Let's get to some more comments here as well. We've got...
Thank you guys for your comments. Quite a lot tonight, isn't there? I think everyone's excited.
There is, yeah. I'm getting lost.
Here he is.
Imagine Chris Jericho shows up on Collision tonight. This is Ace Taylor. What else do we have? Sludge said, so basically a debuting wrestler.
I don't know why they bother doing Collision opposite a WWE PLE. Like, I don't,
Mad.
especially
Yeah,
when
but
it's
if
in the United
it's a
States.
Saturday show, probably even more reason why WWE. One of the many reasons WWE's kind of gone to Saturdays with their PLEs as well. VSS United mentioned Karrion Kross as well, but said what about the Hardys? I'd be a struggle squeezing both of them in there, I reckon. VSS also said, why did AEW mention Jericho's contract was frozen? Yeah, Tony Khan has mentioned that, I believe, in some of his recent interviews as well. Casper says, Karrion Kross might not be back now in MLAE. Is that what MLW? Didn't see him be inside the crate. Let's have a look. Ace Taylor says, I say Lucas Jackson should show up at Mania and win all the titles and bring him back to DKW.
Every one of you younger guys can go and do that.
Casper says Karrion Kross is MLW champion right now, so yeah, that'd be tough. I mean, they've done it before. Ryder, Cardona.
The thing is, if WWE wants someone, they're moving heaven and earth to make that happen. Like, if they really want someone, and it won't matter if they're like, insert indie wrestling promotion champion here. Like, it's not going to matter to them. So I think all this, I get what you mean, Casper. I know obviously for fans of MLW it sucks because WWE can just come and swoop people. But if they wanted him, then I think they would just get him. The Jericho thing is just interesting, but it seems there's more layers to it as the weeks and months go on. And this whole, I remember seeing about this contract being frozen stuff. It just screams that, I mean, everything was saying speculation anyway, but potentially there was a deal that was going to be done, and then Tony Khan's kind of stepped in and said, well, actually, because you missed X, Y, Z, I'm adding on this time. And obviously this might be why Jericho obviously hasn't, made an appearance yet. But,
especially when we expected it with reports of the contract running out, of course the big events like Raw on Netflix going to 1 year, and the Royal Rumble as well. Another big name that could be in the crate here, Ace says, I think Lucas is going to be in the crate. He's pre-recorded this video for the stream. I'd love it if that was the case.
By satellite. Remember when the Rock Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant.
Maybe it's The Rock, guys. I mean, it's been a while since everybody speculated whether or not The Rock's going to show up at a PLE, so you never know. I mean, this time last year, he was a big part of it, so who knows? Let's get into the card itself, guys, because again, SmackDown really threw a lot of kind of spanners out there, I would say. Myself and Lucas did the weekend kickoff preview last night. Thank you to everyone that tuned in, and thank you for those that watched that replayed on the earlier part of the build-up show. But I want to give this opportunity to Rob to let us know what he's thinking about these matches and who he thinks is going to win. And again, as things have quite drastically changed in some of these storylines, myself and Lucas will give a little bit of an updated thought on who we think might win these matches as well. So let's start out with Rob telling us what he thinks of the Women's Chamber. I guess it's build and who you think is going to win. Of course, we've got Kiana James, Asuka, Raquel Rodriguez, Alexa Bliss, Tiffany Stratton, and now the recently uncrowned tag team champion of Rhea Ripley. She is very much able to be flying solo and going after a singles championship after losing her one half of the tag team gold last night. So, Rob, does that have any bearings on your original thoughts on this? And what do you think overall of the Women's Chamber match?
I think people losing titles just before things like this, chamber matches, I think not even just over the last year, but all of the time, it seems like if they're dropping it for one thing, could it be that they're losing it for something else? For example, if people drop the IC way back when the IC was being dropped, as long as they've held it, it's like they're priming them for the world title run. Yeah. It's kind of that thing. All these women, I would say, honestly, I could say all of them could handle themselves in that position of becoming, of where they are. But it's just a hard one, man. I mean, it's a stacked chamber. I would say the one maybe that I would look down on the most, because we haven't seen enough of her, is Kiana James. Other than that, it's a really hard one to call. But I think at the same time, I like the idea of her winning, because it'll be so much more of a mystery of we haven't seen enough of her to, can she get the job done, that kind of thing. So I do like that, playing it as an underdog, but I don't know, again, with screen time wise, I don't know. I mean, what's the crowd? What would you say her crowd reaction is? Do you think she is treated more like a heel? Is she a tweener? Because she has that persona, but
she's currently paired with Julia on the main roster, and yeah, they're villain. She's a villain. So I guess Jade also is a villain, but a lot of the objections like that you could have about these people can be fixed. Like if someone is heel and they're facing a heel, one person will turn face.
Yeah,
if someone's on Raw and the thing's on SmackDown, they just move the person over. Obviously, I touched upon in my videos about Gunnar James, and obviously, I think I'm with you. She'll be a great underdog pick. But it doesn't seem they do that for these things anymore, which is sad.
Yeah.
I think it's more likely in the men's one. I think even Trick is a big call, but that would be way more understand because, as we mentioned last night, the man is over. But yeah, in this, I think it's less likely. But hey, again, stranger things have happened. Moving away from the less likely ones, then Rob, who do you think is most likely?
Look, I would honestly, if I had my way, then I would say Asuka. I just feel like every time we've had conversations, even in the past, Asuka's been that person that nobody's ready for Asuka, then Charlotte beat her, and then since then, every time she's had this a nice return, they've built her all up to this massive thing and to nothing. You know, like it. We had it with Shinsuke. How many times have he had to try and reinvent himself, and it's come to nothing? And it always seems like a foreign or a wrestler that never gets that big build, you know? Yeah, and it grinds my gears because I just feel there's so much potential and you're just sitting there keeping them doing nothing. So I would say, look, I would love it to be Asuka. Alexa would be great, but I think there's the stuff with her and Charlotte, something's going to go on there. So unless Charlotte's going to play like a pivotal role in something happening, at the match, I don't see it because we got it last year, didn't we? With the Jade returning and whatnot, and I felt that was amazing. The way that moment, was fantastic. I don't think we could recreate that now because it would be pointless. Ripley, Ripley's Ripley. I'd love to see it happen, but I think she can be important without having to have a title match, and we've seen that. And obviously Tiffany Stratton and Raquel Rodriguez. So I don't know. Out of them, Tiffy I think can still hold her own. I'm going to go Asuka. I think that's who I really want. That's what my heart says. But I think it's kind of inevitable. But if it isn't, it's going to be Rhea Ripley. It just feels like that's the way it's going.
Yeah, so last night when we initially discussed it and Rhea was still a champ, we kind of were saying, look, Rhea, they're always going to be tempted to put Rhea in that situation. And look, I'm a big fan of Rhea, but I'm like you. I don't think she needs to be in that position. And I've enjoyed what she's been doing as a tag team. So to lose the gold, go straight into it would really annoy me. But it looks like, it could just be a swerve. It could be, they were going to take it off them anyway. So why not do it here to kind of shake things up for the chamber? Or it could be that it is just what it is, and it is way more likely she's going to do it. The other big hitters, again, I was going Alexa Bliss because that's kind of like you said with Rob with Asuka, that's kind of what I want to see. But there's a story to be told with Charlotte that could involve the title, could involve the chamber, or could be told completely on its own, or be held back to after WrestleMania. Who knows? Yeah. Then you got Tiffany, and myself and Lucas dove into this quite a bit last night, but basically the gist of the way we feel is not again. It does sound like a great marquee match, but we've been there, we've done that, and it wasn't great both times. So 4 months later, it doesn't really feel like it's going to be any better. So for me, that one feels like the most likely. I do think, I felt until last night, WWE would be most tempted to do Tiffany again. But now I'm starting to think it's Rhea, which again, I've got to be honest, guys, at least they're keeping us on our toes. But Lucas, what about you, mate? Since you've seen SmackDown and Rhea drop her gold, do you think that changes anything?
The thing is, I think obviously the reports coming out of that is they wanted a surprise for the show. They're trying to book surprises on television a bit more because they want SmackDown in particular, as obviously, it's dipped. Even on the main USA network, I think it had dipped under 1 million viewers, which I remember. I think we all remember it going under 3 million viewers, or under. I think I remember it going under like 5 million viewers. This was only early 2010s, and yes, a lot of this is just down to how the change of how we watch content. is nowadays. Like I myself don't own a service to watch live television on. Like I don't have like Sky or anything like that. I know lots of people in that same position, and so yeah, you watch everything on streaming. But yeah, still, the ratings are a big indicator because their business model is about getting these massive TV contracts that they're able to still get, because the only kind of thing that is drawing viewers and drawing the money is live entertainment, which obviously WWE is. Because scripted shows like they've got the dozen galore over on the streaming services. But anyway, I did have a couple of videos today, obviously, and I touched upon Rhea a little bit. Now she's not the tag champ. I do think, yeah, like there is maybe more of a chance now, but and out of obviously, this is a question to you actually, Rob. Was something we talked about last night. Is obviously bearing in mind who the match will be against. It will be against Jade Cargill. We felt that Rhea was probably the strongest person to go against her from a match perspective. I think the reception of the Tiffany Stratton matches wasn't very positive, and I don't think they want to go back to that. But having her work with someone like Rhea or even Alexa, tenured wrestlers, would probably be a wiser choice.
Yeah,
that's kind of what we were kind of thinking yesterday, weren't we, Scott?
Yeah, I think. I don't know. I keep changing my mind on it because, again, Jay Cargill thing is what we've really got to think about here. We really got to think about who's likely to be going one-on-one with, not the great one, but Jay Cargill. And that's what really, like, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Who's going to hold that feud? Yesterday you were talking about how Alexa's promo game could definitely do that. Kiana James, I think, is the one we can get rid of the quickest. And again, that's no disrespect to her, but I think she's the one to get rid of the quickest. But as you say, Alexa, you've got the promo stuff. Tiffany Stratton, they've been there, they've done that, but are they going to be tempted to do it again? I actually think they are. I think they are. Even if it's not here at WrestleMania, I think they're going to want to, they as performers are going to want to redo that and kind of improve, essentially. Asuka, I just don't see as very likely. Sorry, Rob. Raquel, you mentioned how, it could be a 2 Judgment Day women, basically both going out after the titles as well. And how she's been booked very strongly the last few months and then suddenly not in the title picture. That would be quite strange as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Rob, what have you thought of, I guess, the Jade Cargill side of things and her run and like her need for a strong opponent going into WrestleMania?
Yeah, it's such a strange one. I think sometimes you get people that don't need a title. For example, we have Ripley on one side, right? Doesn't need a title, can keep herself relevant. A lot of people, a lot of the women can do that. And then you have some people that can kind of be relevant, but because they've got the title, they feel more established. Do you know what I mean? The minute you take that title off them, they kind of fall flat again. And annoyingly, Jade is one of those people because I don't think we've got enough to. We haven't seen enough of her showcasing what's happening. Obviously, we had the thing with her teaming up with Bianca Belair. And that was really cool, her, and all that kind of that stuff. But again, it was over so quick. And I mean, we haven't seen Belair for almost a year because of the injury with her finger and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's when I was kind of
maybe she's in the crate.
Oh, maybe, you never know. But yeah, I don't know. I think with the one that makes the most sense, weirdly, is because she lost to Jade, right? Would be Tiffany.
Yeah.
So at least they're saying, you beat me this time. I don't time for the chamber and stuff. Now I'm going to prove to you I can beat you, because at least we can get into a different side of Tiffany of she has to win. Like she has to win, and it becomes not just about the title; it's about her beating Jade. So at least we can throw that kind of angle, and maybe we can see more of a desperation side from her, as opposed to just Tiffy time. It's
the thing is,
game on then.
I just dislike them utilizing the chamber that way, though.
Yeah.
I think if they wanted to do that, and this just goes into their bigger problem, is they cannot, for love nor money, seem to be able to write a storyline.
Yeah.
An old-fashioned storyline of, person person A hates person B, and we build that rivalry up over a few months, and then we have matches on pay-per-views or PLEs, on TV, and we build up to a big blow-off match. Like, it just doesn't happen anymore, and it's a problem, because it seems that anytime they want to do something like this, they always have to be like, oh, tournament, or we have them win the Rumble, or we'll have them win the Chamber, just to get a story which should be quite straightforward. Like, Tiffany should have been able to come back and just feud with Jade anyway. And then the Chamber match could have been, again, for like a mid-card title, or for a tag team title, or just anything that's not the same thing we're already getting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a few years ago when we had Cody winning the Rumble, when we all knew Cody was going to go after the title again anyway. Like, it didn't need to, that spot could have been used for something else. And I think, again, the Chamber is one of those as well, where, as you say, it doesn't need to be a vehicle to get back to a match we all know is going to happen eventually, or all feel it's going to happen eventually anyway. Maybe if it's not for Mania, but if it is, then yeah, I agree with you. It didn't need to happen like that. I guess the argument against that is that we need to, well, I was going to say you've got Liv picking the other title, so someone needs to go against Jade. But again, that can happen without it. And you could, as you say, a mid-card title could be in there as well. I mean, let's get to some of the comments about the women's chamber match as well. It says, Saj here says, I think Tiffy and Asuka open the chamber match. Asuka gets eliminated first, followed by Kiana, followed by Raquel, followed by, it's very specific here, by Rhea, followed by Tiffany, and your winner will be Alexa Bliss. I'm sticking with Tiffany Stratton, says Casper's, but I do like Tiffany Stratton. It is Tiffy time. It says, I think Tiffany Stratton was a great women's champion before she dropped the belt, just my opinion. I thought she did well. I just think it never reached that next level. And I think pairing her up with Jade Cargill was a real risk, because they both are looking to get that next level, and it didn't really work as far as the match goes. Casper says, I'm really struggling to get over with Raquel Rodriguez, to be honest. They've booked quite strong, and she is the bridesmaid, never the bride, in my opinion. It certainly seems that way, as Lucas kind of referred to last night in his early predictions as well. Such as they have so many women's tag teams, they should have just done a women's tag team chamber. That's a great point. That really would have been good. Let me get some of these other comments outside of the women's chamber chat as well. Let me just see where we are. A few comments about Karrion Kross again. Casper says, I'll be disappointed if it's Karrion Kross inside the crate now that we've got Aleister Black and Selena Vega as the new Karrion and Scarlett gimmick as well. What else did we have? If Finn Balor doesn't win the strap, I'll stop watching WWE. He deserves it so much. Like I said, the build up to Mania will be so boring. We're going to get to that match in a minute, Ace Taylor, but I agree. It's shaking it up would be good. I don't know about stopping watching. I'm not against Punk still being champ, don't get me wrong, but the annoying thing about this, and again, we talked about this last night in our original preview, is that it's pretty unlikely that CM Punk's going to lose the championship. So let's start talking about that match, guys. Let's move into the World Heavyweight Championship. Look, we're about half an hour away from the show kicking off, so we won't spend too much time on this one, because I think we're probably all going to be in agreement that it looks like CM Punk's going to walk away as the champion. And again, I went into detail last night as to why this frustrates me, and it's an example where Punk being in it would have been a bit better as far as the chamber, and just it being a title match, and oh well, Punk's still the champ and he made his way through 5, and now what? He's got the big bad Roman Reigns on the other side. But then we got this awkward kind of situation where we know they're not going to throw away Roman Reigns versus CM Punk, and yeah, they might add to it, but that is something I believe in another year, not when we basically got that last year with Seth Rollins as well. Again, let's throw it over to Rob first on this one, because we haven't heard his thoughts yet. So Rob, what are your thoughts on Finn Balor versus CM Punk? Is it as straightforward and as simple as I'm thinking it is, where surely CM Punk goes to WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns?
Look, you'd think so, right? It makes sense that Punk is going on to headline WrestleMania. I mean, put it this way, if Roman's in the main event of WrestleMania and he's going for a title, it's Punk, it's a headliner. It's the final.
Yeah, it's night 2 headline. Like, it's not night 1 headline anymore. Yeah.
So and obviously we all want that for Punk. Obviously, when he come back, it was the big thing he really wanted before he left the first time was the main event WrestleMania, and the whole drama of you face Taker, blah 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 blah. That's all water under the bridge now. I would say, look, if there was any other time, I'd be happy it'd be Punk. But you can't have someone like Finn Balor, who was the original Universal Champion, the first, lost it due to injury, had to climb himself back up again, and ended up going back to NXT, having a great run as a heel, coming back up again, getting lost in the shuffle, joining the Judgment Day, getting lost in the shuffle again. There's so much has happened with him, and he had to prove himself time and time and time again. I feel like if Finn doesn't win, it's a big injustice for Finn because of everything that's happened.
Yeah,
However,
I mean, he's done it. This should have happened 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't the moment for it. But yeah, sorry, carry on.
So I was going to say, I mean, because he jobbed for Edge. You know, like he's done enough. He's paid enough dues there.
Those dues,
for certain things for that. Edge didn't need to win that. You know, so and we can go back to even then and around that time. Look, my big thing would be what I would like to see is Punk gets the win because clearly that's what's going to happen. Balor finds himself a way to get himself into the match with him and Roman, and it's a triple threat. And when he comes out, this is when we get the Demon back. I think that's where we get the Demon returns, Demon wins. He finishes, and it's a perfect start to a new side of Finn Balor without Judgment Day, and that's it, and that's his goal. I think that's the great story there.
I think best case scenario for Finn here is that he gets a storyline with the Judgment Day going into WrestleMania. I mean, I get what you're saying. I just don't think it's realistic. But saying that, I think he was clearly getting a lot of love when it looked like he was turning babyface just before the Belfast match. So there's always something under the radar for Finn. There's always that opportunity to turn that corner with him and make him a big deal again. But timing wise, because of everything else going on around him, it's not about Finn at the moment as far as why I wouldn't do that for Finn, because I would always want that kind of thing for Finn. It's just that when it comes to WrestleMania season, it just seems so unlikely. And if they didn't pull the trigger a year ago, 6 months ago, or whenever else they've given them title matches, whenever they need someone to look like a credible challenger, then they're not going to do it here. And sometimes you need to shake it up. You need to, you saying him going into it and becoming a triple threat, I'm thinking, you know what? If he does, I'd want him to win the title. Do you know what I mean? I'd want it to be something we're all going, well, this is different. Because as much as he has been champion before, like it was a long time ago and it didn't last for very long, did it? So it really is a shame. I can see Ace Taylor saying here, if you can't tell, I'm a massive Finn Balor fan.
Yeah.
But look, we are.
Need to get a room.
Punk, that's it. Maybe it says Sludge. Maybe they set up Dom versus Finn at Mania here, and maybe JDB and a special guest referee. I think that's more likely. Something like that, Dom versus Finn Balor. Here would be a weird way to do it, but I think they could do it.
The problem they've had with this, we mentioned yesterday, is the fact that they have now seemingly made a conscious choice that the Rumble winner literally picks the match. Like, you had Roman go up to Punk and say, I am facing you at WrestleMania. It's like, wait a minute, there's like 2.5 months until WrestleMania. So what, Punk is meant to like sit on the shelf for like 2 months?
I'll wait for your Roman.
Whereas before, when the Rumble winner was done, it was just, okay, cool, they won the title match at WrestleMania, but other feuds, other bits and pieces were allowed to continue around it. And we had, obviously, back in our day, we had like No Way Out, and it was even more modern fans. You had stuff like,
You all right?
Yeah, am I still here?
Yeah,
you're still here.
More modern fans, which was like Fastlane and Roadblock, that kind of thing, where there was still stuff that went on in the background. So they need to move away from that Pacific, but I guess they've done it the last few years because of the level of matches that they felt has, it's guaranteed. Like, when they've had Cody and Roman set up, and now this year Punk and Roman, they want and obviously they're trying now to fill stadiums, and not just stadiums that, like I said, the average ticket price is $532. People are paying to be in that stadium. So they feel they probably need to, show these things. But yeah, that for me has been the biggest thing, because it just makes this whole match redundant. And I'm sure it's going to be a great match. I'm sure it is. But
that's just frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah. And the only hope, I guess, is that, well, I hate to say it, but just good in the period we're in, if just please have Finn come out of this match healthy. You know,
Yeah.
last thing he wants, he needs, or the company needs, is obviously him getting injured in a match that is basically pointless. And if it's just going to be used as a way to keep him on television, and then obviously set up something, I guess, with the Judgment Day. But this is another reason why they need to bring back, stuff like the pre-show matches and the other matches in general, because Finn could be doing something else on this show. He could already be doing maybe for example, Finn and Dom could be going with the tag belts on this show against the Usos, and then they do a split there, and that sets up the Mania match. Why do we always have to go to? It must be for World Championship, or we're just not going to do it.
Yeah. I think it's because they needed to shoehorn Punk into the show in Chicago. But again, I would have just gone away from the number one contendership thing and done the world title match and just had Punk come out the winner, because that's what we're going to get anyway.
In the chamber, isn't it?
Yeah, in the chamber. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion. I mean, you could argue, but then that would be annoying because you kind of know Punk's going to go face.
Yeah, but there's loads of stuff they could have done though. I mean, obviously they could have had, they could have had Division attack Punk early in the night, and then they do the whole is he going to make the chamber? There's there's loads of stuff they could have done
to make it entertaining at least.
Yeah.
Let's get some more of these comments, guys, before we start wrapping up, because we've got about 20 minutes to the show. So we do need to talk about the women's IC and the men's chamber in a bit more detail as well. So let's quickly get to some of these comments before we do that. Casper says, I have a funny feeling that Roman Reigns wins the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 42. I have that same funny feeling, Casper. And the idea of him and Cody coming out as victors at the end of WrestleMania is something that WWE seemed to have really wanted to. If they could have done it a few years ago, they would have done it. And now they're in that position to do so. I think that's what we're going to get. Who do we think attacked Jey Uso yesterday? We'll get to that in a minute, Lynette, because we will be talking about the men's chamber as well. But let's first of all move on to the women's. I think it's safe to say we all think Punk's going to win, so I'm not even going to bother with that one. Let's move into the women's Intercontinental Championship. Will Punk's wife be the winner in this one? AJ Lee, of course, in her first singles match since coming back to the WWE, facing off against Becky Lynch for the Intercontinental Championship. A feud that I've really enjoyed. A legacy act in AJ Lee, but also in Becky Lynch as well. As far as she's a legend these days. It's been really good to see them working together, and also having the opportunity to basically put more light on the Intercontinental Championship. I think it's been really, really exciting seeing that championship become what it is today. But let's throw it over to Rob and see what his thoughts are on this one first. Rob, AJ Lee, Becky Lynch, what do you reckon?
Do you know, I've really enjoyed the Becky side of the build-up, and that's no disrespect to AJ Lee. I feel like she hasn't been there a lot to really deliver promos and things like that. I'm not sure who had this idea of writing a specific promo for Becky, but the way she the one it's in my head is she starts talking and then it flicks onto something else and then it comes back and then she's cutting a bit more of the promo, and then we've got these kind of like the voiceover over the top. If we can get those promos for Becky going forward, every time she has a few, oh my goodness, they are so well produced. Like everything about them, from start to finish, and they're so gripping that it makes me want to listen more because of the way they're kind of zooming and getting closer. That final punch of the delivery line on a promo. So I must say the promo wise from Becky has been top tier. She's been great at delivering them. There's been a bit corny at times, but
but I think purposely, right? She plays into it, and I think we've got to give credit where it's due. She's reinvented a character here. This is a completely different Becky Lynch, and but still true to what a heel Becky Lynch would be. So I think it's been so entertaining. I agree with you, Rob. I think she's been fantastic. But also then, AJ Lee maybe hasn't had as many opportunities, but still kind of held her own as well. But I think my favorite thing about this whole thing has been it's been giving AJ a great opportunity to come back and get her flowers, but also, as I say, elevate that IC title. And whether AJ comes out with the title or it stays on Becky Lynch, I think either way, the title is the winner here. Do you agree, Rob?
Yeah, fully. I think in terms of predictions, obviously I'm a big Becky fan. That's been obvious since before we even had the RM Pro Wrestling channel, during COVID and stuff. So knowing that this is where she's at now and she's trying to elevate another title, it's nice to see that she's doing that at this point of her career where she could be at home, with the baby, or I say probably toddler now, and just being the mum and letting Seth do all the work, but she's still grinding and trying to put 100% in. So it's good to see that she's still trying to deliver at the highest level, bearing in mind she's got more stuff going on at home. That's always great to see. In terms of who I want to win, weirdly, I do want it to be AJ, because I feel you can only go so far with a title before you have to drop it. And I think if Becky's at a really good point at the moment, her dropping the title and AJ taking it, I think it could skyrocket that title even more. Now it's on someone that I guess would you class AJ as a legend now? It depends how you what you want to class it as, a future Hall of Famer. But yeah, I think AJ having it now and then her dropping it to someone to elevate them, I think would be perfect. Yeah. IC is perfect for that. That's setting everyone up who's, again, what I was talking about earlier, the IC title is what it used to be for, Austin, Rock, Triple H, Shawn Michaels. They all held an IC title at some point before there was a world champion. So them doing it now when using the IC, giving it some credibility, and then letting someone else have it. Like, for example, like Lyra would be someone that could be really good in a position. Do you know what I mean? Again, to use that and rocket them. So yeah, I think it's going to be AJ, and then I feel someone big's going to come in and take it away, or an up and comer is going to take it away as a heel. That's what I can see. So I really wanted AJ to win it, to give it a bit more credibility, and then pass it down to the next big heel, who that's going to be.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's about the journey of the title. If AJ does win it, I don't think she'll hold it for long, and again, it'd be about who she passes it on to. Lucas, we've probably dove into this match quite a bit already. I don't think there's much else to say, is there? Nothing else really came from SmackDown that's going to affect it. So should we just move straight into the main, what we think could be the main event, the men's title, the men's number one contendership match, I should say. Again, big news on SmackDown, because you see that Jey Uso has been yeeted out of the match. Logan Paul is now in his place. Now, this was a very, very clever way, in my opinion, to make up for, not a mistake, but kind of an unfortunate situation where it seemed like Bronson Reed was supposed to be in the match. I mean, we've seen leaked artwork where he was as well. So they had to call an audible, it seems, because he got injured. Jey Uso wins the match, and then they find a way to get him out of it and stick another member of the division in, Logan Paul, who, by the way, I think makes this match more exciting anyway, because let's be honest, he's an exciting athlete. So I think it'll be good for that reason, but also it tells me that there's something they need to do at the Chamber with the Vision. There's a reason they've squeezed a Vision member back in here, surely. And of course, what we saw on SmackDown was a kind of weird unmasking of someone who was attacking people, but I don't think was the original.
Did you see... Sorry, just to cut in. Did you see who the unmasked person was? Did you see on Twitter?
Yeah, so apparently it's a student of Seth Rollins, and I do think that could play into it storyline wise. But again, there's quite a bit going on here now as well that does kind of shake things up. Look, we've got a few minutes before we kick out of here, but go on, Lucas. Sorry.
Yeah, it's got to play into storyline wise, because surely there are hundreds upon hundreds of wrestlers.
I agree.
And out of everyone, they find someone who was trained by Seth Rollins. I mean, even like you would take that's just the own network they have. Bubba Ray Dudley has a school. They could take
true. Could have been anyone's school.
Take one of each.
Yeah.
Like, why would you pick deliberately Seth Rollins' student? And like I said, we're in the internet age now, where people are going to find this stuff out, and they have done pretty much within like 10 minutes of it happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why would you risk? You can't get away with, like, if it was like 30 years ago, fair enough, no one's gonna know, but now and yeah, my feeling is that there is going to be a masked man appearance tonight, and they knew they needed a Vision member in the Chamber, and this was the best way of doing it. And I'm with you too, Scott. I think it's definitely made the match more interesting. As Logan Paul, I think he's added a lot to the ones that he's been in previously. I think he's been the last three, hasn't he? I think,
it's the kind of name dropping out of it that was a bit of a surprise. So bringing him back in again for that would be good, and for whatever they've got planned for the Vision. I mean, do you think it's because whatever they had planned was so big that they couldn't drop it? So as in, like, it is a reveal of the real masked person. Do you think it could be something like that, Lucas?
Potentially, I think. Obviously, they're in a weird thing now, where they've got to make a choice about what to do with this masked man situation, and I do feel with all the injuries racking up, like we've got to be nearer the end and the reveal than we have been. And it's probably going to be pushed forward, and doing it tonight would make best sense because it's a PLE, it's Chicago, hot crowd. They've already got this mystery crate thing going on. Like this would be another thing to make this show like even bigger, and something which again they used to be really bloody good at. They used to be very good at building up the television over the weeks to lead to the pay per view, and this would be a good example. You built this up for a long time, and the only thing I think that's holding it back potentially is if it is going to be Seth Rollins, and he's not currently healthy, then they'll have to do like a stooge or like someone who's working on behalf of Seth Rollins kind of stuff until Seth can get back. And I don't know who they could have kind of in that role to do it. But the thing is with mask stuff and mystery stuff in wrestling, the longer it goes on, that the worse it gets if you haven't got the big thing at the end. Like, the thing is, people would last like a year with this crate if it was Chris Jericho at the end. Like, it's fine. But if it is, Danhausen is fair enough, but if it is just going to be like Otis, like at the end, it's going to be disappointing. So the longer it goes on, like the worse it gets for this. But it is getting a bit ridiculous now, which I think.
I think when they open the crate, the masked man's going to be inside the crate. How about that?
Don't do that.
Well, what about if there's a crate inside the crate?
A crate inside the crate, and inside that is the masked man, and inside that, we're gonna throw it over to some of these comments before we get out of here, but we've got a few minutes before we do, so let's throw it over first to Rob, get his thoughts on the lay of the land when it comes to this men's chamber match and all the kind of potential shenanigans surrounding it. Rob, what are your thoughts?
Look, I had the pleasure of when I went to Sheffield. I had the pleasure of getting a couple of selfies with Cody Rhodes, and look, I think what he's done, if you want to class him as a quarterback, trying to get more eyes on the product, carrying a title like an old school guy, really trying to elevate it. But guys, I'm getting bored. I took a year off of watching wrestling.
And you come back and it's still the same.
And I'm still bored of this Cody stuff, right? Look, it was good the first year. The second year, he kind of finished the story, blah, 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 blah. He had his high. Right, it's done. Okay? He doesn't need the title now. Just give it to someone else. So, look, honestly, if I'm looking at him, LA Knight, he should have done Money in the Bank 2 years ago. I would say Randy Orton really doesn't need to be around that scene. He's there to help now elevate everyone else. I know he said he can go another decade, and I do not disagree with that. I think the guy is in phenomenal shape still, and I think he could still go, but he's now towards the end of a career. So like him teaming up with Riddle a couple of years back kind of showcased where he is at. If he needed to step up, I know he could, but I don't really think he's needed in that position now. So you kind of then get Javon Evans, Trick Williams, and Logan Paul. So I don't think the other two are quite ready yet for that position. Maybe Trick, Javon, I think he's got a long way to go. Honestly, I think Logan has to win.
Oh my God.
You've been glad here.
Because imagine if something was, let's say, for example, the masked guy reappears, he makes the mistake and causes Logan to be the reason that he wins or something like that. Like now, when you unmask it, that person definitely doesn't want to be unmasked. So now it's who caused it, because it's going to be more of an uproar. So I just think looking at it from that perspective would be great. Plus, there's got to be something. Why would they, as you said, they've put Logan in. They could have had Jay there. He could have ran it back about 30 times on top of the chamber, and everyone would have enjoyed it, and they clearly didn't go with that. So I definitely think Logan's there for a reason, because they could have put in Theory. You know, if they wanted someone from the Vision,
Sure.
they could have put Theory. It's Logan for a reason. So
that would be crazy.
But could it also
I mean,
be Logan because Bronson was meant to have a strong-ish kind of showing? You know, it's interesting because I've been actually watching a lot of Chambers recently, but there is also like how the Rumble has, you know, moments to make people look good. I think the Chamber has it too. Obviously, you know, someone like a Bronson could have come in and eliminated like 2 or 3 people, but then got eliminated by someone.
Yeah.
It's not him winning, but it's still looking really devastating inside the Chamber.
yeah.
And similarly, they could, you know, they wanted that, but I think the Masked Man is going to be linked into, or does the Masked Man help Logan win? But then that'll be a massive U-turn because the Masked Man's been a distraction to the Vision this whole time. Yeah, I don't know. I think who did we say yesterday, Scott? I can't remember now. Did we say Cody? I think we said Cody.
I think we were kind of going with Cody. A big part of the discussion, of course, was Jacob Fatu, and I think him showing up in that kind of suspicious situation with Jay and Sammy calling him out was quite interesting as well. We did talk about maybe Jacob costing Cody and someone therefore winning at the expense, like Randy getting into that match, but then squeezing in Cody, Randy, Sammy, Jacob, and Drew. I mean, before you know it, stick a chamber on top of them and you can do another one of these or something, you know? So I don't know. I think surely Jacob and Cody will be in a match against Drew at WrestleMania.
Sorry, I just want to jump in as well. We still don't actually know the whole, because we got the mystery of who's in the crate. Then we got the mystery of who's the Masked Man. We've had 2 of those.
Crazy.
So one of them was Theory, and then whoever this guy is. Then we got Nat, and before that we had, was it Jacob that was attacked by someone?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and they've never really clearly said who that was either. Yeah.
So there's like 4 things going on, and no one knows any answer to anything. So
time for new general managers.
Yeah. What's going on?
It's insane, isn't it?
Like they get beaten up, even by the women. They get beaten up by everyone. These security guards they find out of nowhere. But yeah, it is a lot going on at once. And again, it just feels like, again, I hate to go back to this point, but when you have these 4-match cards, you're pumping in all these stories into just 4 matches. Whereas the old way of doing it would have been, okay, look, we've got Jacob Fatu who's causing some problems. Why don't we put Jacob Fatu against Sami Zayn on the show? So that he's on the show, he's featured, and that his story can kind of have another match to be talked about in. Whereas now we've got to talk about Jacob Fatu in a match he's not even bloody in. You know, but he could impact, you know, by appearing or being part of or being added to it even. You know, we can't rule that out. Obviously, we're less than 5 minutes from the show starting. Asuka's being very creepy backstage. So I'm assuming they're alluding to the fact that the women's chamber match will be starting the show.
She looks like she's in a McDonald's.
Yeah.
That decor, wasn't it?
Really
let me run through some of these comments before we wrap up, guys, because as Lucas says, we're 3 minutes away. Thank you to everyone that's tuned in and joined us tonight. I really appreciate you. It's Crim too says, who's winning the men's elimination chamber? It looks like we're all kind of pointing towards Cody Rhodes, except Rob thinks it might be Logan Paul. Goat Becky is the one that attacked. Did Sammy attack Jay? Excuse me.
Yes.
And my meal for today, we always like hearing what people are having for their PLE meals. Sludge is having a Macca's. All right, that's fair enough, mate. Classic. AJ Lee is overrated, said VSS United. Becky's probably my favourite women's wrestler of all time, says Sludge. Been doing very well lately, of course, as IC champ, of course. This match will end with Becky just going out the ring and letting the ref count to 10, set up a real Mania match. Again, we talked about that yesterday, how this looks like it probably could be leading to WrestleMania anyway. When is a logo coming back? And Naomi, we don't know. Yeah, it'd be good to see Naomi back at some point as well. What else do we have? Could the person in the box be a woman? Certainly could. Again, big rumors at the moment seem to lean towards Danhausen and Jericho, but it certainly could be a woman. Gentlemen, do you think Bianca Belair returns at WrestleMania? I don't know, man. I thought every few months I thought she was coming back. It still hasn't happened yet as well. I think that Seth Rollins is the masked man. He's faking his injury. It could be Jake Paul. Jake Paul being an interesting twist on it as well. Don't think they're going to go there, but I think they'll use him in some way. Casper says Cody doesn't lose this match, but the OG masked man could play a factor into getting into it and entering into the chamber. That's an interesting way to do it. But they've already kind of switched someone out already, so I'm not sure if they'll do that now. Now the CM Punk and Dominic Mysterio could get involved in the Finn match. Triple H must be addicted to crime, I guess, because of all these masked kind of characters and stuff like that. The masked man in a cage above the cage, says VSS United. Could Dominic be involved again? Referring back to that Finn Balor match, I think that's probably the best case scenario for Finn to give him a new storyline after this.
Yeah.
I don't think he's winning the
And
gold.
the Jabbernade's got to split, surely. Like, it's got to be time.
At some point.
They're splitting for 2 years.
Yeah, they have been. In a shark cage, and I'll take it. VSS is Lucas in the chat, and if it's an advert for something that's eat my show. Again, check out Lucas's channel, of course, the Lucas Jackson Show. You can see the handle for it right there as well, the LJ Show 25. We are very, very close to the show itself, guys. So I want to say thank you to everyone that's
25 seconds.
Whether you are a viewer that's been here for a long time or one that's just tuned in, we appreciate you. Please subscribe, check out more of our content. A real pleasure to chat as always with Lucas, and amazing to have Rob back in the house. Thank you to everyone that tuned in, and please enjoy Elimination Chamber as we start really gearing up to WrestleMania. I've been Scott, he's been Lucas, that's been Rob, and we'll see you on the next one.
Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.